Origins. Izuku Midoriya, age 4. He's had some good days in his life so far, but today was rather special. For today was the day he would find out what kind of quirk he would have. Every kid in his class already had their quirks, and it was now his turn. Izuku sat in a chair beside his mother waiting for the doctor to come back and bring him the good news. Mom, what kind of quirk do you think I will get? He asked, playing with his little All Might action figure. Izuku's sweet is settled down, and I don't know what kind of quirk you'll get. It could be like mine or your father's. Either way, I'm sure it will be amazing, Inko said, trying to calm her son down. Just then the doctor walked into the room with a file. Izuku's eyes gleamed when he saw him. Izuku was too excited to see the look on the doctor's face, but Inko immediately saw the look of sadness. Mrs. Midoriya, let me ask you something. What are your and your husband's quirks? The doctor asked, putting down the file. I can pull small things towards me, and my husband can breathe fire from his mouth. Why do you ask, doctor? Is everything all right? You know he wants to be a hero? Inko asked with worry. The doctor sighed. Sorry, kid, there is just no way. It's best if you give it up, said the doctor. Izuku dropped the All Might figure as his eyes went wide. Doctor, what do you mean? The doctor reached into the file and pulled out an X-ray chart, putting it on a light board that showed an image of Izuku's foot. See here, there should be only one joint here. Izuku, on the other hand, has two. This means he won't develop a quirk. The doctor then looked at Izuku. I'm sorry, son, but your dreams of being a hero are over. After a few more explanations, Inko and Izuku walked out of the doctor's office. As they left, the doctor watched them from the window. That boy is exactly what we've been looking for. I must inform Master of this as soon as possible. The car ride home was quiet. Izuku stared outside the window looking at the passing cars. Inko didn't have the courage to speak. She was thinking Izuku was blaming her for this. Now home, Izuku didn't say a word. He silently went over to the computer and began to look up his favorite video. The video was short. It was a 2-minute clip of All Might rescuing people from a collapsed building. Izuku. Hey mom, see, can I still be a hero like All Might, even though I don't have a quirk? Izuku asked, turning around with tears welling up in his eyes. Inko began to cry. Running up to Izuku, she gave him a hug. I am so sorry, Izuku. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mother and son began to cry into each other's arms as the video of All Might played in the back. The following years were a living hell for Izuku. He was subject to bullying by his classmates, especially by his so-called best friend Bakugo. They've known each other since they could remember and would always stick together. However, once he found out Izuku was quirkless, he started treating Izuku horribly. Izuku now was going to start his first year of middle school and was hoping that things would be different, but he knew once people found out he was quirkless, it would all go back to how things were. Getting ready for his first day, Izuku was about to walk out the door when he was stopped by his mother. Izuku, dear. Got a second? She asked. Izuku nodded. Yeah, mom. What's up? He said, giving her a smile. I know things have been hard for you these last couple of years. Izuku's smile faltered. But I just want you to know that I love you. No matter what, I will always love you. Izuku nodded. I know, mom. I love you too. He walked up to her and gave her a hug. I'll come straight home after school. Good. Now go enjoy your first day of middle school, Inko said, waving goodbye. With that, Izuku walked out of their little apartment. As he walked down the street, he thought about when he was younger. The beatings he took, the quirks he wished he had, the friendships that could have been. However, as he would soon learn, none of that would matter, for everything would change in a matter of minutes. Izuku was just a few blocks away from the train station when a black SUV came up beside him. Startled, Izuku stopped as several men came out. Who are you? But before he could even fight back, he was grabbed and thrown into the SUV. Inside, Izuku was tied up and had a black mask covering his face, preventing him from seeing anything. Izuku began to squirm around and yell, let me go. Just then the click of a gun was heard, and Izuku felt something cold press up against his head. Shut it, kid, unless you want a bullet in your head, one of the thugs said. Izuku swallowed hard. Good, now keep it that way. The boss wants you alive, said the thug, keeping his gun trained on Izuku's head. There were 4 thugs in total, 2 in the front seat and 2 in the back seats, and Izuku in the loading space in the back. This makes the 5th kid this month. What do you think the boss wants with them? Asked one of the thugs. Don't know. Don't care. As long as we get paid, it doesn't matter, said the thug riding shotgun. As they were driving under a freeway bridge, something suddenly came crashing in from the sunroof onto the middle seat in between them. What the? Glass was sent in every direction as the thugs shielded themselves. All right, guys, the fun is over. Time to give back the boy, said a very tired-looking man wearing a scarf around his neck and goggles. Ah shit, it's Eraserhead. Kill him, said one of the thugs pulling out a gun. However, as he put his hand on the trigger, Eraserhead elbowed the thug in the nose, breaking it and causing him to drop the gun. The other thug tried to grab Eraserhead, but was stopped when his scarf wrapped around his arm. Pulling on the capture weapon, Eraserhead caused the thug to slam onto the car floor. He then proceeded to stomp on the guy's head. That's when the driver's side passenger tried to activate his quirk, but couldn't. What? Damn it. I forgot he erases quirks, he said, reaching for his gun. Pulling it out, he fired, to which Eraserhead dodged. Seeing a chance, he grabbed the thug with a broken nose and threw him against the passenger seat, causing the other to drop the gun. Seeing a chance, Eraserhead pulled back the guy with the broken nose and hit him in the nuts, causing him to hunch over in pain. Eraserhead then grabbed him by the belt and flipped him over toward the loading space and out the car. Eraserhead then turned his attention to the thug on the floor that was now up. Punching him in the chest, the thug jerked back in between the driver and the passenger riding shotgun. The guy running shotgun turned headbutt Eraserhead, causing him to sit back down on the seat. Disoriented, Eraserhead used his capture weapon and pulled, causing one of the other thugs to fly out of the car from the back. You bastard, yelled the driver. That's when Eraserhead punched the driver in the head. Pull over, and you won't end up like your friends, he said, reaching for the wheel. However, as he did, the thug in the passenger side grabbed the hero by the head and began to bash him against the radio, over and over again. Damn it, I need an opening and fast, my eyes are drying up. As almost on cue, the thug bashing his face stopped to reach for his gun. Seeing it, Eraserhead dodged, but the thug still fired a round, right into the thigh of the driver. You idiot, shoot him, not me. Right? Sorry about that, the thug said, turning back to Eraserhead, only to be kicked in the head by Eraserhead, knocking him out. The driver saw this. Damn. Oh well, might as well try it, he said, turning and opening his mouth right at Eraserhead. Normally, Eraserhead would just use his quirk, but he was at his limit and needed to blink. And in that split second of blinking, the driver let out a sonic scream, throwing Eraserhead out of the car. However, just at the last second, Eraserhead managed to throw his capture weapon to the back of the car. I need to hold on, he said, grunting as he was being dragged. The rear-view mirror, the driver saw Eraserhead was still there. Damn, this guy is persistent. The driver then turned the wheel hard back and forth, trying to make Eraserhead let go. Eraserhead was swinging around in the back, holding on for dear life. See, come on. Got to reach the kid, he said, pulling himself forward. With so much wind blowing into the car, the mask covering Izuku's face came loose and fell off. Izuku saw Eraserhead trying to reach him. He tried to move around, maybe even help him in some sort of way, but found that he couldn't. "Okay, kid, stay there. I know you're scared, but once I reach you, everything will be." Before Eraserhead could finish, a loud bang was heard. Izuku looked towards where the sound originated to find the thug that Eraserhead had knocked out was now awake. The bullet hit Eraserhead in the shoulder, causing him to lose his grip on the capture weapon. "Kid." Eraserhead watched as the kid's eyes began to fill with despair as he tumbled onto the pavement. Izuku's eyes filled with tears as he saw the hero fall. "Secure the kid," the driver yelled out. The other thug nodded and grabbed Izuku, placing him into the back seat. Now, without the mask covering his face, Izuku could see where they were taking him. They drove out of the city, past the countryside, and into the mountains. After a 4-hour car ride, they finally arrived at what looked like an abandoned dam. Izuku was then taken out of the car. After walking for a bit, they stopped in front of a giant metal door. One of the thugs knocked. After a few seconds, the door opened, and out walked a fairly old, bald man with a bushy mustache. He also wore a pair of goggles and a white lab coat. "We got another for you, boss," one of the thugs said, presenting Izuku to the doctor. Good, very good. You have done well, but where's the rest of your crew? Asked the doctor. Captured. We ran into some trouble with a hero, but don't worry, we dealt with him, said the thug. The doctor looked at the scared Izuku, then at the thugs. I see, good job then. Here is your payment. Reaching into his coat, the doctor pulled out an envelope filled with cash. The thug took the money and began to count. He smiled as he confirmed the amount. Pleasure doing business with you, Doc. So when is the next job? Oh, about that. The doctor then quickly reached into his coat once again and pulled out a revolver. Before the thugs could even move, the doctor shot them in the head, causing blood and brain matter to splatter all over the place. Izuku fell to the floor and blood spattered across his face. That's when the doctor walked over and picked up the envelope. Idiots. Only going after the money and so easily disposable, said the doctor as he turned to Izuku. Don't worry, son. You're not as disposable. No, your life is much more important. Now get up and get inside, the doctor said, pointing the gun at Izuku. With no other option, Izuku got up and walked into the building. The building was poorly lit and damp. Izuku was taken to what looked like a room. Stay here. Once we set everything up, I will call for you. Oh, I should probably remove those restraints. The doctor then removed the restraints. Good. Now get some rest. You'll need the energy for what's to come. He then began to walk away. Izuku then mustered what little bravery he had left. What are you going to do to me? The doctor stopped. Turning, he gave Izuku an evil grin. Don't worry, son. If you prove yourself, then you'll move on to the next part. Izuku didn't like the sound of that. With that, the doctor left and closed the door behind him. I need to get out of here. I need to get back home. That hero saw me, so he should rescue me by the end of the day. A few hours later, Izuku was laying on the ground when the door to the room opened up. Come, it's time, said the doctor, accompanied by 2 henchmen with guns. Izuku was escorted into a large room. There he found 10 other kids around his age. Looking around, he found an observation deck. There the doctor watched. Izuku walked over to one of the kids. Excuse me, do you know what we are doing here? The girl turned around. She was a bit taller than Izuku. She also had red hair and red eyes. I don't know. The girl was obviously scared. Just then the doctor's voice was heard. All right, kids, it's time to start the trials. As you see, there are 10 of you, but to be honest, that's too much. So for your first task is to dwindle that number down to 5. Izuku's eyes went wide. Wait, does he want us to kill each other? To speed up the process, we will provide you with these. Just then, sections of the floor began to open up, revealing hunting knives. You have 5 minutes to get it done. If by the 5 minutes more than 5 of you are standing, then we will kill you all. Good luck, everyone. Izuku grabbed one of the knives. I don't want to do this. Let us out, he yelled, but the doctor said nothing. Just then, the sound of yells were heard. Turning around, Izuku found one of the kids stabbing another in the chest. Oh God, please, no. I don't want to do this, Izuku said as tears fell from his eyes. 5 minutes later. Well done, everyone. You all managed to survive for the 5 minutes, the doctor said over the speaker. Izuku stood in the center of the room with a bloody knife in his hand and a body behind him. His eyes were dead as he looked up at the doctor. Now it's time for the next trail, said the doctor. Izuku dropped the knife and looked at his bloody hands. I don't want to be here anymore. Please, anyone help me. But help never came. Izuku would be subjected to various forms of torture, both physical and mental. The doctor was trying to revert them back to their primal animalistic nature. He needed them to be broken in order for his plan to work. Every day, Izuku wasn't allowed to speak to the other kids. The only time they interacted was when there was another trial. The 5 that survived the first trial was soon down to 4, then 3. Each kid would be taken away and never to be seen again. Izuku at first felt sadness, but after the 3rd he no longer cared. If it was his turn, then good. The pain and suffering would be over. At least things would be peaceful. After several months, it was down to Izuku and the red-haired girl he saw during the first trial. They were both given a strange injection. The vial that held the liquid was green in color. What you are about to receive is an experimental quirk-giving process. The last 2 kids didn't survive the test. Let's see how you 2 will do, said the doctor, injecting the 2 of them. Izuku immediately felt a burning sensation crawling up his arm. He screamed out in agonizing pain as he felt the liquid course through his body. Looking over, he saw the red-haired girl's chest rise and fall, almost as if she was having a heart attack. Then she stopped. Izuku looked over at the EKG machine to see flatlines. Izuku then felt his chest starting to pound, harder and faster with every passing second. "Come, I need at least one of you to survive," the doctor said, giving encouragement. The EKG machine hooked onto Izuku was erratic, then normal. The doctor looked on with delight. "Yes, it worked. Congratulations, boy. You are the very first quirkless person to ever receive a quirk." Izuku couldn't even hear the doctor. His chest was still beating hard. Suddenly, a wave of calm fell over him as his eyes rolled behind his head. Izuku would wake up hours later back inside his cell. Getting up, he noticed the ration of food he had in front of him. This was the first meal he had in a week. He then began to stuff his face. He wasn't even chewing his food, all he cared about was eating. That's when Izuku could feel his stomach turning. Before long, Izuku threw up everything he just ate. Izuku sobbed alone in his room. Why? Why me? Why did this happen to me?" Izuku yelled, slamming his fists to the ground. "Tell me, God, why do you hate me? Is this my punishment for being useless? Is it?" Izuku said, pointing up. Dropping his head, he looked at the mess he made. "Please, I just want it to end." Izuku looked over at the plate and saw a fork. Grabbing the fork, he brought it to his neck. "Screw this," he said before plunging the fork into his neck. Izuku could feel the warm blood trailing down his neck. This is much better," he said before closing his eyes. A short while later, Izuku snapped his eyes open. "Huh? I thought I killed myself." "You did," said the doctor. "But lucky for us, that serum we gave you had a quirk possessing uncharted regenerative capabilities. You won't be able to kill yourself so easily, I'm afraid." Izuku's soul left his body when he heard that. Death was his only escape, but now he couldn't even do that. Izuku was then subjected to gruesome torture. Now that he had a powerful regenerative quirk, the doctor saw fit to experiment on him more. Now, with the ability to heal from just about anything, Izuku's body became a surgical playground for the doctor. Throughout the halls, Izuku's screams could be heard echoing out day and night. 2 years later. Over the last 2 years, Izuku was given a number of other quirks. Healing, super strength, stamina, speed, heightened senses, and one odd power, retractable bone claws. For some reason, they put a huge emphasis on the bone claws. Day and night, they would put Izuku through the most brutal of training. One such training included dropping off Izuku atop a mountain in sub-zero temperatures. He was then forced to fend for himself against wolves, bears, and mountain lions. It was all to test his mental fortitude. What Izuku didn't know was that he wasn't doing this on his own free will. The doctor had used psychological manipulation to force Izuku to do everything, endure anything, and obey his command. The doctor would start to manipulate his mind before every training exercise, and the worst part was that Izuku wouldn't know what he did until after it was already over. He would wake up in his cell with no memory of what he did, but if the blood on his bone claws were any indication, it probably wasn't anything good. The doctor was building something, but what? Izuku would soon learn what. It was early in the morning when 2 guards came into his room and ordered him to follow. Izuku put up no resistance as he was escorted into a new room. The room had a big tank in the middle. "Ah, there you are. Come. Today, if everything works out, you will become an unstoppable weapon," said the doctor with delight. Izuku was stripped down to his underwear and forced into the tank. He was given a respirator and attached to several restraints. Floating in the water, Izuku no longer cared what they did to him. "Doctor, he's ready," said one of the assistants. The doctor nodded. "Master, are you there?" "Yes, doctor, I am here," said a voice through the monitor. "Good. I can't wait for you to see this. This will be my greatest invention yet. As you already know, we've given him a number of quirks, the most important being the healing one. We will now try to surgically bond his skeletal system with the metal you provided," explained the doctor. "How do you know this will work?" asked the voice. "I've spent quite a bit of money obtaining that metal. 52 billion yen to be precise. The metal they were going to use was rare, so rare in fact that not even the governments of the world could get their hands on it. Well, there is no 100% chance, but at the most I would say there is a 25% chance he lives, said the doctor. Only 25%? Doctor, I hope you know the consequences if you fail, said the man through the monitor. I do, sir, and I am willing to accept any and all punishment if we fail. Now let us begin, shall we? Said the doctor, instructing his assistant to get the procedure started. Just then, several large spinning needles appeared surrounding Izuku's entire body. The needles were spinning so fast that they turned red at the tips and made the water around it boil. They then stopped just centimeters from Izuku's skin. That's when the assistant turned to the doctor. He's ready. Proceed. Pressing a button, the needles around Izuku then suddenly jammed into his skin with so much force that they reached into his bones. Start the metal infusion. Beside Izuku was a cauldron filled to the brim of a silver liquid metal that was boiling hot. Just then the liquid metal began to get sucked through the needles. Izuku then felt the boiling hot metal digging into his bones. He began to thrash around violently. He was screaming, but no one heard him due to being underwater. Doctor, why didn't you sedate him? I know you are cruel, but to this extent, asked the man on the monitor. We can't sedate him. The healing quirk we gave him makes him all but immune. Only a massive dose will do, but if we gave it to him during the procedure, there is no telling if it would interfere. Right now he is awake and alert. He is feeling everything. But don't worry, this is just another method we have of breaking his mind, the doctor said with a smile. As Izuku thrashed around, flashbacks of his life began to play in his mind. The time he spent with his mother, the constant bullying, the beatings he's gotten, his kidnapping, the first time he had to kill just to survive, the physical and mental abuse he endured over the past 2 years in this hellhole. But nothing could compare to what he was feeling now. The only thing keeping him alive was the memory of his mother and one thing she said long ago: I just want you to know that I love you. No matter what, I will always love you. He tried to hang on to that memory, but it quickly turned into nothing but darkness. The heart rate monitor on Izuku began to flatline. He then stopped moving completely. The doctor was shocked. No. After everything, I failed. It seems, doctor, that your creation, your supposedly unkillable machine, can die. And to make things worse, you used our remaining reservoir of adamantium. I am sure you know what this means, don't you, doctor? The man asked through the monitor. Yes, master. I will not fight against you in any way, the doctor said, putting his head down in shame. Good. I will have my subordinates go in. However, before the man could finish, one of the assistants yelled, Doctor, look, she yelled out, pointing to the heart monitor. The doctor turned to find the heart rate monitor beeping, slowly at first, then it got faster. Heart rate and blood pressure are returning to normal? What about the adamantium? The assistant checked. The reservoir of adamantium is completely depleted. The bonding worked. The doctor slammed his hands onto the desk. Yes, master, did you hear all that? Yes, I did. It seems congratulations are in order, doctor. Now, will it work on the Nomas? Asked the man. In theory it should, but I need the key to everything which is in his DNA. I will need to extract more of his DNA to proceed, said the doctor. Doctor, now that he has the metal, he's now too dangerous to let roam free. I agree. That's why we are going to erase his memories and rebuild him to follow your every command. He will keep all the memories of his training, but any memories of his past life will be gone. Friends, teachers, and especially family memories will be gone forever. We are starting that now, explained the doctor. Little did he know that Izuku was listening, and thanks to his enhanced senses, the flashback of his mother once again appeared in his mind. The last thing keeping him together was about to be taken from him. The assistant began to lower a sort of metal helmet on Izuku's head. It had several cables coming out of it and a red visor. Starting the memory wipe, doctor, the assistant said. Good. It will take a few minutes for it to complete. In the meantime, we need to make sure when he wakes up. However, before the doctor could finish, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Doctor, what is that? Asked the man on the monitor. Status report, the doctor yelled out. Yes, sir, we have a breach. It's the heroes, a man said through the radio. Heroes? Which ones? The doctor yelled. Oh God, not him. Why did it have to be him? The man yelled out as gunfire was heard in the background. Who is it? Just then a proud laugh was heard. It's over, villains. Your time is up. Why? Because I am here. The man on the monitor recognized the voice. Doctor, you need to leave, now. That's when gunfire was heard coming from the metal door outside the operation room. *T, don't tell me. It's him. Suddenly the gunfire stopped, and there was an eerie silence before the door suddenly exploded open. The doctor and his assistant scrambled as they tried to run, but from within the smoke a capture weapon wrapped around them. Not so fast. I've been looking for you for the past 2 years, said the pro-hero Eraserhead. Pulling on the capture weapon, he forced the doctor towards him. Now glaring down at the doctor, Eraserhead pulled on the capture weapon harder. Now, where is the boy you abducted 2 years ago? He said, his eyes glowing red. The doctor cowered in fear. Talk. Now, that's when the doctor heard footsteps approaching. I would answer him, if I were you, said the number 1 hero towering over the doctor and Eraserhead. What are you talking about? What child? Said the doctor playing dumb. However, Eraserhead wasn't playing games. Grabbing the doctor's head, he proceeded to slam it against the floor. Lifting his head up by the hair, the doctor had blood pouring down his nose. The kid, where is he? The doctor's eyes then began to wander. Eraserhead picked up on that and turned to see a giant tube with izuku in it. No, is all he could say, letting go of the doctor. Eraserhead then walked over to the tube to see Izuku floating in the water with the helmet over his head. What did you do to him? The doctor laughed as he wiped the blood off his nose. We made him into the perfect weapon, the very first of his kind. Eraserhead then saw the wires on the helmet lead to the computer. All Might destroy the computer. All Might nodded, and in the blink of an eye he stood in front of the computer. No, the process isn't complete yet. If you stop it now, we will all die. The doctor yelled out, begging for All Might to stop. Your evil plans for this boy ends now. Utah smash. All Might brought his massive fist down on the computer, completely destroying it. On the monitor behind him, the numbers 98% completion flashed. What have you done? Just then a snick was heard coming from the pod Izuku was in. Inside, Izuku began to thrash around violently before breaking free of his restraints. Opening his eyes, Izuku then began to slash at the pod. After 2 slashes, Izuku broke free, landing on the shattered glass. Ripping the helmet off of his head, Izuku looked around. That's when Eraserhead approached the boy. Are you Izuku Midoriya? No response. Kid. Izuku then stared at Eraserhead. His gaze was cold and empty. The doctor then hid behind one of the desks. Midoriya? That's when Izuku let out an animalistic roar and charged right at Eraserhead, claws at the ready. Barely managing to dodge, Eraserhead used his capture weapon on the boy's legs, tripping him up. Izuku fell to the floor. Relax, kid. We are here to help. Izuku picked himself up and growled at Eraserhead. Who are you? Is all he said before snapping the capture weapon. We are heroes, here to rescue you. See, it's All Might. You know who All Might is, right? Asked Aizawa. Izuku tilted his head. All Might? Who's that? He asked, retracting his claws. I am the number 1 hero's son. Now come with us, we can get you to safety. All Might said, placing a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku flinched when All Might touched him. Then the flashbacks of the torture he had to endure played through his mind. Reaching up, Izuku grabbed All Might's wrist. Let me go, he said, shooting daggers at All Might. All Might then felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Izuku then let out a loud grunt. The number 1 hero then felt himself being lifted off the ground and thrown into a nearby wall. All Might was shocked. It wasn't every day someone was able to lift him, much less throw him with so much force. Eraserhead was even more shocked. Kid, you need to relax. We aren't here to hurt you. But Izuku wasn't listening. Damn it, don't make me do this, Eraserhead said, pulling out a knife from his back. Charging in, Izuku let his metal claws pop out with a snick. He then began to swipe randomly at Eraserhead, to which he dodged, but only barely. This kid is fast. If I lose focus even for a second, it's game over. Izuku then jumped into the air and brought down his claws. Seeing an opening, Eraserhead jumped up as well. Tackling Izuku, he brought him back down to the ground. However, something within the veteran pro was screaming to take this kid down no matter what. His instincts were taking over as he swung the knife and sliced Izuku across the face. Blood dripped as Izuku's head turned from the slash. That's when Eraserhead regained his composure. T kid. I didn't mean to. However, as Izuku turned his head back, Eraserhead saw the cut on his face begin to heal, and within 2 seconds, it was completely healed. Not even a scar was left behind. He heals. Now fully recovered, Izuku started to take things seriously, and faster than Eraserhead could see, Izuku snuck behind him with claws at the ready. Eraserhead brought up his knife, but Izuku's claws cut through it like butter. Just as the claws were going to stab into the hero, All Might came in and punched Izuku away from Aizawa. "You alright?" he asked, standing beside Eraserhead. "Why, yeah, I'm good. Listen, we need to knock him out. I don't know what they did to him, but he heals," said Eraserhead. "A quirk? But didn't the file say the boy was quirkless?" asked All Might. "It did," Eraserhead said, activating his quirk. Shota Aizawa, better known as the pro hero Eraserhead. His quirk allows him to temporarily erase the quirk of anyone in his eyesight. However, if he uses his quirk for too long, he gets some serious dry eyes. Shame, really. Aizawa thought the metal claws on Izuku were the result of an artificial quirk, which he could easily erase. However, instead of disappearing, nothing happened. "What? My power is not working on him." The doctor smiled behind the desk. "Good. The adamantium is acting as a blocker to his quirk." "All Might, I'll restrain him. Once I do knock him out," instructed Aizawa. All Might nodded. Aizawa then ran at the boy. Izuku snarled and ran at Aizawa. All Might stood back and waited for the perfect chance to strike. He watched as Aizawa slid under Izuku, getting behind him. Izuku swung his claws behind him and managed to cut Aizawa across the chest. Aizawa grunted in pain as blood dripped from the 3 slash marks. Pushing through the pain, he threw his capture weapon, which wrapped around Izuku's body. "I know this won't hold you, but it should be enough time for this. Now, All Might." Izuku turned around to see a massive fist in front of him. All Might had jumped at him. "Sorry, kid, but this is for your own good," he said, punching Izuku across the face. Izuku hit the floor hard, but he still wasn't knocked out. Shaking his head, he began to get back up. All Might thought he knocked out Izuku with that punch, but his overconfidence would prove a liability when Izuku dug his claws onto the back of his legs. All Might grunted in pain as Izuku pulled his claws free. Turning around, All Might swung his fist, but Izuku jumped out of the way. "Damn it, he got me." Just as Izuku was going to run at All Might, a loud scream was heard from the door. "Yay!" The pro hero Present Mike had arrived. His quirk gave him the ability to create loud, high-pitched sounds. The sound waves hit Izuku. Reeling back in pain, Izuku plugged his ears with his hands. "Sound is hurting him? But why?" Present Mike stopped his yell and was surprised to see Izuku still standing, barely. Stabbing his claws into the ground, Izuku began to lift a large slab. With wobbly legs, Izuku threw the slab at Present Mike. Just as the slab was about to hit, All Might appeared, destroying it. "Thanks for that, All Might. Did you deal with the rest of the armed guards?" "Yeah, it was thanks to Midnight. Speaking of which..." "Hey there, little boy," said a voice coming from the destroyed door. "Do you mind taking a nap for me?" Out walked the pro hero Midnight. Her quirk allows her to put others to sleep. Males in particular fall asleep faster than females. Ripping the sleeve on her costume, a purple mist began to come out of her skin and head towards Izuku. The purple mist hit Izuku, and instantly he began to feel the effects of her quirk. However, even after taking a hit by All Might, being screamed at by Present Mike, and hit by Midnight's quirk, Izuku was still standing. "How tough is this guy?" asked Present Mike. However, Izuku couldn't hold on. Retracting his claws, he began to walk over towards Aizawa. "And no, more, don't hurt me." And with that, Izuku collapsed, succumbing to Midnight's quirk. The pro heroes let out a huge sigh of relief. "This kid, is he the one you were talking about, Aizawa?" asked Present Mike. Aizawa nodded. "Yeah, this is him. Although he didn't have a quirk when he was abducted, yet he has more than one now." All Might's eyes went wide. "There's no way, could there?" If he is involved, then this became even bigger than we thought. Hey, where's that doctor? Asked Aizawa. The heroes looked around to see the room empty. The doctor and his assistant left while they were fighting Izuku. They got away. Let's go search for them. They couldn't have gotten far, said All Might. Aizawa stayed behind with Izuku. I'm sorry, kid. I should have saved you 2 years ago. Remember, Inko was never a runner. She was a small, frail woman, but when it came to her son, she would carve a way through the mountains if she had to. When she got the call that Izuku had been found, she thought it was a sick prank someone was playing on her. But after everything processed in her mind, she immediately ran next door to her old friend Mitsuki. Inko never gave up hope on finding Izuku, and neither did Mitsuki. Inko, I've never seen you run so fast, Mitsuki said, running behind Inko as they ran down the hospital halls. No, I waited 2 years to see him. I am not waiting another minute, said Inko. Come on, where's that damn room? They then suddenly came to the room 1974. They were surprised to see Eraserhead and a policeman standing outside the room. The hero turned to see Inko and Mitsuki. Mrs. Midoriya, I presume? Inko nodded. Yes, that's right. Now where is my son? I want to see him. Wait, ma'am. There are a few things you need to know before that, said the policeman in a trench coat. To hell with that. My friend has been waiting 2 years to see her son. I think she's waited long enough, Mitsuki said, glaring at the man. Ma'am, we have reason to believe Izuku has lost his memory. When we found him, he attacked us, and he could do the same to you, explained Aizawa. My Izuku? No, he would never hurt a fly. He was the sweetest boy on this planet, said Inko. The two men looked at each other, but before they could say anything else, the room they were standing by began to flash red. Shit, he's awake, Eraserhead said, looking through the window. Inko pushed her way through the hero and looked through the glass. She was in shock. My God, Izuku. What she expected to see was her quiet, small, timid son she knew, but in front of her was what she could only describe as a beast. Izuku was thrashing around violently as doctors and nurses tried to subdue him, but he was too strong. Izuku threw the men and women across the room. Let me go, he yelled out as he was getting grabbed. That's when Izuku popped his claws. Aizawa's eyes went wide when he heard the snikt. Oh no, Naomasa, call Midnight. We are going to need her quirk again, Aizawa said, punching in the code to get into the room. Inko covered her mouth with her hands in disbelief. Mitsuki was also in disbelief. There's no way. I thought you said Izuku was quirkless, Inko. He is, or well should be. Seeing that the door was closing, Inko slipped past the door and walked in. With his claws out, Izuku lunged at one of the nurses, but was stopped when Aizawa threw his capture weapon at both of his arms. Izuku, relax, we are only here to help. Izuku turned around. His eyes bulged with pure rage as he fought against the capture weapon. Aizawa gritted his teeth as he gripped the weapon with all the strength he had, but to his surprise, Izuku began to overpower him. With a loud grunt, Izuku brought his hands together and proceeded to throw Aizawa across the room. Slamming into the wall, Aizawa spit out blood. As he slid down, he was grabbed by the neck by Izuku. With his free hand, Izuku pointed his claws right at Aizawa's face. I'll make sure you'll never hurt me again. Hiya! Thrusting his claws forward, Izuku was about to kill Aizawa. That is until a voice called out to him. Izuku, stop. Izuku stopped, the blade centimeters from piercing Aizawa's face. Turning around, he found Inko standing at the door. Izuku, it's me, your mom. You remember me, right? She said, taking a step inside. Izuku glared at Inko. W are you? And who the hell is Izuku? Suddenly flashbacks began to play in his mind. Reeling back in pain, Izuku grabbed his head. Memories of his time being tortured began to overwhelm him. No, leave me alone, he yelled out, letting go of Aizawa. Izuku, what's wrong? Inko yelled out in worry. She tried to approach Izuku, but Aizawa stopped her. Stop. He's not in his right mind right now. He could hurt you. But Inko didn't listen. She simply walked slowly towards him. No, it's all right. He would never hurt me, or anyone for that matter. Isn't that right, Izuku? Izuku continued to grab his head and slam against the monitors. Falling to his knees, Izuku covered his ears with his hands, begging for the images to stop. Please, please, make it stop. That's when Inko kneeled down beside Izuku and hugged him. Shoo. It's okay, Izuku. You're safe now. Listen to my voice and take a deep breath. Try to relax. Let us. No, let me help you remember who you are. Izuku didn't know why, but her voice calmed him down. This feeling. This warmth. What is this? He thought to himself as he fell unconscious. Inko quickly caught him, but found that he was too heavy to carry. Instead, she gently placed his head on the floor. Aizawa, now recovered, and with red marks around his neck, got up to see Inko smiling down at Izuku. She then turned to him. Tell me everything that happened to him, now. After securing Izuku, Inko was told everything, the rescue mission, what Izuku did, and his newfound quirks. Inko was surprised to say the least. So where do we go from here? If he doesn't remember anything, not even me, what am I going to do? We can help him remember. Is there anything at all that can help him jog his memory? Asked Aizawa. Inko thought about it. Oh, his childhood friend Bakugo. They have been together since they were kids. I'm sure he could help. Aizawa nodded. It's worth a try. The psychiatrist says it could bring his memory back. Inko agreed and stepped out to find Mitsuki and Bakugo. That's when Aizawa turned to Naomasa. You didn't tell her about the torture. Why? We have all the information from files we pulled from the computer after All Might destroyed it. Naomasa got up. She doesn't need to hear that now. It will only cause her future heartbreak. For now, we can only help them rebuild some semblance of a normal life. Inko walked into Izuku's hospital room, where he had metal cuffs covering his hands and straps going across his chest and arms that bolted to the wall. Izuku laid asleep on the bed. Does he have to be that tied up? Asked Inko. Aizawa nodded. I assure you it's for your own and our own protection. Inko didn't like it, but she couldn't argue against it. Very well. She walked over to the bedside and placed a hand on his shoulder. Instantly, she noticed a significant amount of muscle. She then began to shake him gently. Izuku, 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 wake up, dear. Izuku's eyes snapped open. Get away, he yelled out, thrashing around, trying to break free from the restraints. Shoo, Izuku, it's me. I'm not going to hurt you, Inko said in a quiet, tender voice. Izuku looked over at Inko and began to calm down. You were here last time. Who are you? Inko took a deep breath. My name is Inko Midoriya, and you are Izuku Midoriya. I am your mother. That makes you my son. And mother? Izuku suddenly felt a sharp pain from his head. Easy, Izuku, don't force yourself. You've gone through a lot, said Inko. Gone through a lot? What do you mean? Asked Izuku, confused. Inko looked back at Aizawa. As she did, Aizawa shook his head. I'll tell you later, but in the meantime, the doctors told me that you lost some of your memories. Seeing as that you can't remember me, you most likely had a traumatic experience. Izuku looked down at the cuffs. All I can remember is waking up in a pod, surrounded by people. Then, I felt pain, so much pain. Izuku, you were gone for 2 years. I was starting to think that I lost you forever. You may not know who I am, but I promise you, I will never lose sight of you again, Inko said as tears fell from her eyes. I want to remember. Please, help me remember, said Izuku looking up at Inko. Inko nodded. Of course, and to help you, I brought one of your old friends to help you. Maybe you could remember who you are. Aizawa then opened the door and in walked the Bakugo family. They approached him quietly and slowly. Hey there, Izuku. It's good to see you, said Mitsuki. Do you remember me? Izuku stared at Mitsuki and her husband. And no, I don't, should I? We are old friends of your mother, Izuku. If you don't remember us, that's fine. All right, maybe you remember your childhood friend Bakugo, Masuaru said, stepping aside. Bakugo just stared at Izuku. Look who finally decided to show up, stupid Deku. I knew you were weak, but weak enough to let someone kidnap you. Well, that's just pathetic. Bakugo, yelled Mitsuki. Bakugo scoffed. What? He's a quirkless loser. If I'm being honest, he should have stayed missing. That's when Izuku's head began to hurt. He closed his eyes and clenched his teeth. As he did, flashbacks of Bakugo's bullying began to play in his mind. Then he began to relive it. Every explosion ever fired, every burn on his body, and every drop of pain that Bakugo inflicted on him. Izuku, talk to me, what's wrong? Inko cried out. Izuku dipped his head for a second before lifting it and glaring at Bakugo. His eyes burned red with rage as he began to move his arms around trying to break free. However, the restraints were working. Inko got up as Bakugo stepped back. What happened to him? Asked Masuaru, shielding his son. Shit, seeing Bakugo must have triggered a memory. Stay back, the restraints should hold him. Aizawa said at the ready. However, the restraints wouldn't hold forever. Izuku popped one of his claws. The long, sharp metal sliced through the tops of the cuffs. Seeing that he couldn't get his hands free, he began to twist his wrist to the point of dislocation. A loud crack was heard as the claws slid downward, freeing one of his hands. Inko was shocked Izuku just sacrificed one of his hands to break free, but she was more surprised to see his wrist twist back to its original position, completely healed. Izuku then looked at his other hands. Slicing down, he cut through the cuffs like butter. You? I remember you. You used to torture me, he said with the snicked sound of his second claws popping out. Bakugo glared at Izuku. Bring it, you useless freak, he said, pushing his way past his parents. Raising his hand, he fired an explosion at point-blank range right in Izuku's face. The room was covered in smoke as a result of the explosion, useless as ever. However, as the smoke cleared, Bakugo's eyes widened. Izuku had half of his face burned thanks to the explosion. However, that wasn't the thing that worried him. It was the fact that Izuku was smiling. Suddenly, the burn marks began to heal rapidly. As he was healing, Izuku lunged at Bakugo, snapping the chains across his chest. Izuku swiped his claws down, cutting across Bakugo's chest. Using his explosions, Bakugo backed away, clenching his now bleeding chest. You fucker! I will kill you! Bakugo yelled out, glaring at Izuku. Blood dripped down Izuku's claws as he snarled at Bakugo. He then pointed. You will stay away from me. That is unless you want to die. Your threats don't scare me, Deku, Bakugo yelled out. Bakugo was about to attack Izuku, but that's when Inko got in front of her son. Izuku, please stop, she said with her arms outstretched. Izuku narrowed his eyes. Move, I don't want to hurt you. Please, Izuku, this isn't you. Remember what I told you before you went missing, Inko said, approaching Izuku. Izuku flinched and pointed his claws at Inko. Stay back. He then pointed his right claws at Aizawa, who was about to sneak up on him. That means you too, dead eyes. It was early in the morning. You were getting ready for your first day of middle school, remember? Before you left, I stopped you at the door. I told you that these last couple of years have been rough, but that I wanted you to know one thing. Do you remember what it was? Inko said, approaching Izuku. Inko's chest was now touching Izuku's claws. Any closer, and she would be impaled. Izuku's eyes went wide as his memories began to play in his mind. The image of Izuku in an All Might onesie jumping around on the couch played. Look, Mom, I'm All Might, the #1 hero. Then the day at the doctor's began to play. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry. And finally, the memory of the day. Izuku stood at the doorway of his apartment with his mother beside him. I love you. No matter what, I will always love you. Snapping back to reality, tears began to run down Izuku's face. I love you. Those were the last words you said to me. Inko gasped. Izuku. Izuku retracted his claws and put down his arms. And Mom? Where am I? And who are these people around us? During the standstill, Bakugo and his family managed to leave to get Bakugo the medical attention he needed. Stupid Deku. I will make you pay for what you did to me. That I swear. After calming down, Inko began to talk to Izuku, hoping he would remember anything else from his past. Unfortunately, he could only remember her and nothing else. The doctor said it could take time for his original memories to return, but it was best not to force anything. The doctor also wanted to do a physical exam on Izuku to see if he was healthy. The doctor was surprised to see how muscular he was. Aizawa was under the impression that the doctor at the facility wasn't feeding him. It turns out at one point the doctor fed Izuku to the point where he could gain muscle mass. Once he did, the doctor took away his food and began to give him specialized pills that contained all the nutrients and vitamins he needed. However, during this process, they did run into a problem. As they put Izuku in an MRI machine, the machine suddenly began to shake violently. Thanks to the giant magnets in Izuku's adamantium skeleton, he began to bounce around the inside of the machine like a pinball. The nurses stopped the machine, but it was too late. The MRI machine was completely destroyed. Izuku was unharmed thanks to his healing power, but the hospital now had one less MRI machine. Following more tests, Izuku was allowed to go back to the room and rest. The doctor, Aizawa, and Naomasa all went to a conference room where they were going over the results. However, before they started, All Might walked into the room with a small bear/mouse looking thing over his shoulder. "Nizu, I didn't think you would be here," said Aizawa, surprised to see the principal of UA here. "Yes, well, All Might told me about this troubled boy, and I wanted to see if there was anything I could do to help," Nizu said, hopping off of All Might's shoulder. "Very well, let's get this started, shall we?" said Naomasa. "Doctor, if you will." The doctor nodded. "Of course, the boy is healthy for all intents and purposes. I found no abnormal defects in his blood. For a boy in captivity for that long, he was surprisingly well taken care of. It seems whoever wanted him to be in perfect condition." "What about his new quirks?" asked Aizawa. "According to his mother, he didn't have a quirk. We also have documents to support that." "That is the extraordinary part. He didn't have a quirk, yes, but now it seems he has more than one. Super strength, stamina, senses, and others. But one of the most important is his claws. He has 3 retractable bone claws that retreat into his forearm and each arm when not in use," explained the doctor. "Bone claws? Doctor, what he has are not bone claws. They are clearly made of steel," said All Might. The doctor shook his head. "No, they are bone claws, but his entire skeletal system has been infused with some sort of metal. Whatever it is, it's virtually indestructible and stable at a molecular level." "Can you remove the metal?" asked Nizu. "Not without killing him. The metal is now part of him. There is also his regenerative ability. As a doctor, I've seen my fair share of healing quirks, but never one like this," the doctor said, surprised. "What do you mean?" asked All Might. "Most regenerative quirks have a drawback, say for example tiredness. But with this boy, there are no drawbacks. The speed at which he heals is astonishing as well. Quirks are like muscles, so you have to train them, and in order to get it to his level." The doctor paused. Aizawa gritted his teeth. "Those bastards, it's no wonder he lashed out against us when we rescued him. He must have thought we were going to torture him." "Doctor, what about his memory loss?" asked Naomasa. The doctor grabbed his notes. "Yes, there's also that. Normally someone would regain them after some time, and with someone with his healing power, it should have returned by now. That is until we scanned his brain, we found that his neurons, the things that give him memories, are destroyed. It was as if someone took a stun gun and tasered his brain. Combine that with physical torture, and it seems as they were trying to mold him into something else, a weapon. This poor kid, is there anything we can do?" asked Nizu. "No, all we can do is hope his memories come back, but the chances are slim. I don't know how this boy acted before they did this to him, but his personality will certainly change. It's best if he were surrounded by positive influence," said the doctor. Nizu thought about it. "I spoke to his mother before coming here, and she told me he always wanted to be a hero. Even with no quirk, he still had dreams of becoming a hero, like you All Might. I suggest we let him try out for UA. That way we can help him, get him back on the track of being a hero." All Might smiled. "That is a wonderful idea. The exams are in 2 weeks' time. Would he be able to leave before then?" "Honestly, he could leave now. Physically, he's fine, and it is best if he went home," said the doctor. "Are you sure it's a good idea to let him in, Nizu? The kid is mentally unstable. What if he lashes out again like he did before?" asked Aizawa. "Your concerns are warranted, but I do believe the teachers would be able to handle him if it came to that. Besides, we don't know if he'll get in or not. He is only taking the exam. If he fails, then that's the end of it," said Nizu, getting off his chair. "Also, since the boy doesn't remember anything, I think the police will consider this case closed. However, if he remembers anything at all, I will reopen the case," said Naomasa. "Then I guess that settles it. I'll go inform Mrs. Midoriya," said All Might. All Might went to tell Inko the good news. She, of course, happily accepted the offer. Inko thought that this would be a perfect way to help Izuku become who he used to be, or at least recover some of his memories. Izuku was allowed to leave the next morning. Now home, he smelled that he indeed was here before. The thing he found odd was all the All Might stuff he apparently accumulated over the years. Inko spent the whole day walking around town with Izuku, hoping that seeing the city he grew up in would make him remember. Unfortunately, it didn't work. However, something about Inko's Katsudon made him feel nostalgic. It was now late at night, but Izuku couldn't get to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, memories of the torture he went through would play in his mind. Izuku popped his claws and began to look at them with the moonlight in the background. Those images, that pain, I never want to feel like that again. Anyone who tries to hurt me will pay. With Aizawa, he sat down at one of the desks at UA. As he was involved with the rescue of Izuku, he was given a copy of the files they confiscated from the lab. The files had several pages of what they did to Izuku, including videos. Each paper gave horrifying, vivid descriptions. Each video you could hear Izuku's echoing screams. Aizawa was a pro hero and has seen his fair share of blood and death, but this was something completely different. Aizawa didn't sleep that night. He stayed up going over everything, watching every video, reading every paper. The sun began to rise, but Aizawa still hadn't even gotten to half of it. My God, this poor kid. The amount of physical and psychological abuse he went through. It's actually a good thing that they erased his memory. No one would have been sane after that. Getting up from his seat, Aizawa walked over to the window to see the sun rise. This is all my fault. If I saved him while he was getting kidnapped, all of this could have been avoided. Some teacher I am. Unknown location. The doctor and his assistant were out of breath and out of time. Doctor, we need to report to him as soon as we can, said the assistant. I know that, but in the meantime we are staying here, said the doctor, turning on a switch. Suddenly the room they were in began to light up, revealing a mini laboratory. However, before they could get to work, the monitor on the desk turned on. Doctor. The doctor jumped back in surprise. Master, how did you? You cannot hide from me, doctor, for I see all. Now tell me, where is the boy? Asked the voice. The boy is gone, sir. The heroes have taken him, said the doctor, cowering. You failed me, doctor, and for that you must pay. The doctor's eyes went wide. Normally the price for such a failure would be your life. However, I am willing to give you one more chance. With the boy no longer under my control, he has become a liability. For that reason you will build something that can kill him. And master, with all due respect, that is impossible. You yourself picked out the quirks to make him unstoppable. If we haven't given him the healing quirk, we may have been able to, but now. I don't see it happening, said the doctor. Do not say that it's impossible. No one is unkillable. You have a few weeks. Fail me again, and I will personally see that you never see the light of day again. Do I make myself clear? Said the voice, in a cold demeanor. The doctor kneeled. Yes, master. I do believe I would need some more adamantium for that. But as you said before, we are all out. That is where you are wrong, doctor. Do you honestly believe I gave you all of my adamantium? I have a small reserve courtesy of our supplier. I will give you the tools you need, but fail me again, and I will make what you did to the boy feels like a walk in the park. One more thing, doctor. Make sure it hurts. The doctor looked up and smiled. Yes, of course. He then turned to his assistant. Let's get to work. The man on the monitor turned off the TV, Kurojiri. Suddenly, a black portal opened up in front of the man. Yes, master. From the portal, a figure of a man covered in black mist appeared wearing a suit. Is our infiltrator ready? Kurojiri nodded. Yes, master. They're going to take the UA entrance exam in 2 weeks' time. Good. How is Shigaraki? He is improving, master. He still has much to learn, said Kurojiri. The man took a deep breath. I see. Then please, continue to guide him. He must be ready for when we strike. He will, master. Is the Nomu almost ready? Asked Kurojiri. It is. It will be ready for when Shigaraki needs it. That is all. You may leave now. Thank you, master. With that I bid you farewell. With that Kurojiri left. New start. Over the 2 weeks, Izuku's personality began to change. The once timid, shy, weak boy was no longer there. In his place stood a strong, confident, powerful young man, and he was going to make sure no one would ever mess with him again. He was still well-mannered. Inko made sure of that, but he still came out with a sense of pride around him. It was now the day of the UA entrance exam, and Izuku didn't fully understand why he was there. His mother told him he always wanted to be a hero, but he didn't understand why. Izuku stood outside the gates of UA. Oh well, here goes nothing. As he walked inside, he noticed so many kids around his age. Walking over to a table, he picked up his temporary badge and a few papers. As he was reading the papers, he began to walk into the building, but suddenly bumped into someone. The other person bounced off of Izuku and fell on their butt. Izuku looked down from his paper. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where I was going, said the person on the floor. Izuku noticed that he just bumped into a girl. She had short brown hair, brown eyes, and was wearing a brown coat over her school uniform. It's fine, I wasn't looking where I was going either. Here, let me help you, Izuku said, offering her a hand up. She's pretty cute. Thanks, she said, taking his hand. With little effort, Izuku lifted the girl up. Sorry again, my name is Achiko Uraraka. It's nice to meet you. Izuku noticed that Uraraka had two small round pink blushes on her cheeks. Izuku Midoriya, I take it you are trying for the hero course? Uraraka nodded. Yeah, I am. But how did you know? Izuku bent over and picked up a piece of paper that she had dropped. I believe this is yours. Uraraka grabbed the paper. Thanks again. So, are you taking the hero exam too? Yeah, that's the plan at least. Just then a bell began to ring, signaling the start of the exams. And that's our cue to go in. Izuku walked over to the door and held it open for Uraraka to walk through. After you. Uraraka smiled. How sweet. Thanks. The two walked into the auditorium and took a seat next to each other. Looking around, Izuku began to take mental notes of everyone. He didn't trust anyone, not even for a second. Just then the lights in the auditorium dimmed and a spotlight which shined on a podium. Welcome, everybody, a loud voice said, appearing from the podium. Izuku covered his ears. Thanks to his heightened senses, it made loud noises hurt more. The name is Present Mike, and I will be explaining the UA entrance exams. But first, can I get a hell yeah? Everyone stayed silent. Tough crowd. Anyway, there will be two parts to this entrance exam. First part will consist of a written test, but no one really cares for that. The second part will be the practical. You will be assigned different locations, and within these locations you will find robots. Each robot will be marked from 1-3. Before he could explain anything else, a hand shot up. Excuse me, I have a question, yelled out a blue-haired, glasses-wearing boy. Yes, you with the glasses, said Present Mike, pointing him out. According to the handbook, there are 4 different kinds of robots, but you've only explained 3 of them, said the blue-haired boy. Izuku rolled his eyes. Maybe if you let him talk instead of interrupting, we could get some answers. The boy turned to Izuku. How rude. I was only trying to look out for others. Right? That's what you were doing, said Izuku, turning his attention back to Present Mike. All right, you two settle down. The green-haired kid has a point. I was getting to that. You see, the 4th robot is worth 0 points and is mostly there as a distraction, so it's best to avoid it at all costs, explained Present Mike. Right. Thank you for explaining, and I apologize for not letting you finish, said the boy, bowing before sitting back down. Now that that's out of the way, let's just jump right into the written part, yelled out Present Mike. After passing out the tests, everyone went to work quickly. They had 1 hour to finish the exam, but for Izuku, he didn't even need 30 minutes. He couldn't explain it, but Izuku just understood every question. He was sure he didn't study beforehand, so why were they so easy? After being the first one to turn in his exam, Izuku was allowed to wait in the waiting area. As Present Mike watched Izuku leave, he looked down at the paper. So this is him, huh? The boy? Nizu said to keep an eye on him. Now that the hour was over, Izuku was issued a testing arena and allowed to change. Izuku went with a simple look, white muscle shirt and black shorts. Everyone around him saw his muscular body and wondered how he got to be so muscular. Izuku looked around, surveying his opponents. So many different kinds of quirks. That's when he spotted her, the girl from before. Izuku saw Uraraka breathing in and out, trying to calm her nerves. Wanting to talk to her, Izuku began to walk over, but was stopped when someone touched his shoulder. What do you think you're doing? Asked the blue-haired boy. Can't you see she's trying to focus? What? Are you trying to make her lose focus? Izuku looked at the hand on his shoulder. Get your hand off of me, ow. The boy felt a shiver run down his spine and quickly let go. What? For your information, I was going to help her calm down, said Izuku, glaring at the boy. Now get out of my way. The boy was in shock. Hey, you alright? Asked Izuku, walking over to Uraraka. Uraraka smiled as he approached. Why, just a bit nervous, that's all. Jesus, look at those muscles, he clearly works out, thought Uraraka, with a slight blush on her cheeks. Hey, don't worry about it, you'll do great, said Izuku, trying to make her feel better. Uraraka nodded. All right, everyone, it's time for the practical exam. Everyone turned to find Present Mike atop a watchtower. Welcome to Ground Beta, said Present Mike. Behind him were two giant metal doors that had a massive reconstruction of a city just on the other side. Just two more things before we start. First is that you are not allowed to hurt/attack anyone. If you do, you are automatically disqualified. Second thing, this is a 30-minute test, so don't waste any time. That's when a loud buzzer was heard and the metal doors swung open. Everyone just stood around puzzled as to what to do. But not Izuku. His battle instincts kicked in as he rushed into the fake city. The others were stunned. Well, what are you waiting for? In real life, no one is going to tell you when to start. Better hurry. Looks like he's about to earn his first points. Uraraka and the rest quickly ran into the city to look for some robots. While everyone was still at the start line, Izuku was running towards a three-pointer. Izuku smirked. Easy prey. He yelled out as he jumped into the air with the snicked sound of his claws popping out. With a downward motion, Izuku sliced through the robot with ease. As he landed, the robot exploded. On to the next one. Izuku ran around the fake city, slashing his way through robots. He was doing good. He had a total of 119 points. 8 minutes left, yelled out Present Mike. Sitting on a nearby roof of a 3-story building, Izuku decided that he was tired and took a break of slicing robots. Man, this is pretty easy. Can't believe this school has such a low acceptance rate. Let's see, there are people with lasers, acid, engines in their legs, and invisibility. Not bad. Observation room. Several shadows sat in the observation room watching the test takers battle the robots. This year's kids have a lot of potential, said a female shadow. I agree, but we aren't looking for pure quirk strength. They have to be more than brawn. They also need to have brains, said another shadow. That is also true. Speaking of brawn, how is our special case doing? Asked a small figure. It seems like he's taking a break. He's already racked up enough villain points, so I assume he doesn't see a point on continuing, said a shadow. The small figure smiled. Then shall we give him something to continue on then? Aizawa, if you would. With pleasure, said Aizawa, pressing a button on the control panel marked Titan. With Izuku. Izuku looked down the edge of the building to see Uraraka touching one of the robots and making them float. Our release. Touching her fingertips together, the robots suddenly fell to the ground, breaking apart as they hit the ground. Uraraka then covered her mouth, as if she was about to throw up. A gravity quirk. Seems like there is a limit to how much she can carry and for how long. Seems like she already reached said limit, said Izuku, standing up. Just then the ground beneath him began to rumble. The building he was on began to break apart and collapse. Izuku fell to the ground level with a few cuts, but his healing power made quick work of his injuries. Pushing concrete away and slashing through metal, he made it out, only to see a giant robot appear from the ground. With one swing of its arms, it knocked over buildings, sending pieces of said building in every direction. The students all turned to run as it began to make its way towards them. Yeah, I'ma stay clear of that, said Izuku, about to turn and leave. That's until he heard a small grunt of pain. Looking back, he saw Uraraka trapped under a concrete wall. Oh hell. Without giving it a second thought, Izuku ran towards Uraraka. As he did, he passed a certain blue-haired boy. Uraraka was in pain. The wall had crushed her leg, and now she was unable to move. She could have used her quirk, but she overused it and was now feeling sick. To make matters worse, the giant robot was making its way towards her. She tried to push the wall off of her, but it was too heavy. See, come on, come on. She yelled out, trying to move it, but to no avail. That's when Izuku appeared. Hey, you alright? Uraraka looked up to see Izuku. No, I think my ankle is broken. Can you use your quirk? asked Izuku. Uraraka shook her head. No, I overused it. No other choice then. Moving down towards the wall, Izuku popped his claws and began to slash at the concert. After a few seconds, the wall was but a pile of small bits. Brushing the pieces away, Izuku picked up Uraraka bridal style. All right, let's go. And just in time, too. Just as they left, the robot crushed the area Uraraka was trapped under. However, the robot wasn't going to let them go that easy. Seeing that they were leaving its range, the robot reached down, threatening to squish the two. Look out, yelled Uraraka as she saw the hand approaching. Izuku looked back. Shit, no time to dodge. He then looked at Uraraka. Sorry about this. Hey, Four Eyes. Catch. Izuku then suddenly threw Uraraka at the boy. The blue-haired boy quickly ran and caught Uraraka. Looking back, she saw Izuku facing the robot. Bring it, you giant rust bucket, said Izuku, claws at the ready. The giant metal hand squished Izuku under its immense weight. The students all went wide-eyed. No, Uraraka yelled out as the boy who saved her got crushed underneath the massive metal hand. We have to help him, said Uraraka, grabbing the blue-haired boy's shirt. What can we do? Asked the boy as his body refused to move. Uraraka tried to put pressure on her leg, but found that she couldn't. However, her worry quickly turned to shock when from the back of the robot's hand, metal claws appeared. Izuku was squished by the robot's giant hand, but he managed to raise his claws and slash his way out. Blood was seen around his body, but the cuts themselves had already healed. That hurt, said Izuku. The robot now had a hole in its hand. It tried to pull back its hand, but Izuku decided to finish it off. Jumping onto the robot's wrist, Izuku began to run up the robot's metal arm. With his claws scratching against the metal, Izuku ran higher and higher. Reaching its shoulder, Izuku sliced at its joint, causing the whole right arm to fall off. Izuku then ran towards the head of the robot, lifting his arm up. Izuku began to slice through the neck of the robot like it was nothing. Now barely holding on by a wire, Izuku jumped and stabbed the robot in the back of the head. The lights coming from his eyes began to fade away as it began to shut down. Just then, the head of the robot exploded, causing a chain reaction. The onlookers backed away as the robot crashed to the ground. That's when a buzzer was heard signaling the end of the exam. And that's time. Present Mike yelled out. If you are injured, please stay where you are. Someone will come by to help you soon. Uraraka was in shock, but then remembered that Izuku was still under the pile of destroyed robot bits. We need to dig him out. Get me over there, Uraraka said, instructing Ida to move. Ida nodded and began to run towards the pile of metal, but stopped when he saw the metal moving. To their surprise, Izuku climbed out of the pile of metal. Stupid robot. Making his way off of the pile, Izuku saw Uraraka. Oh hey, how's your ankle? Uraraka blinked twice in disbelief. Still hurts, but what about you? Are you alright? That's when she saw it. Oh my god, Midoriya, you're bleeding. Looking down at his torso, Izuku saw a metal rod sticking out of his stomach area. Oh, that's a problem. Izuku then proceeded to grab it and then pull on it. Wait, don't pull on it, you'll bleed out. Just wait until help arrives, said Ida, trying to make Izuku stop. But Izuku didn't listen. With a loud grunt, Izuku pulled the rod out of him. Midoriya, we have to stop the bleeding. Someone quick, get me something to put pressure on it, said Uraraka in a panic. Guys, relax, see. Izuku then pointed down at where he pulled out the rod. The two looked to see. Nothing. It's completely healed? That's amazing. It's as if nothing ever happened, said Ida, surprised. Yeah, it is, but enough about that. You need some help, said Izuku, pointing to Uraraka. Right you are, son, so let me do the helping around here, said a voice behind them. Turning around, the three found Recovery Girl walking towards them. Who's that? Asked one of the students. That is the youthful heroine Recovery Girl. Thanks to her quirk, Yue can have these reckless exams, explained a French-looking student. Why don't you set her down, son, so I can heal her, ordered Recovery Girl. Ida did as instructed and put down Uraraka. Recovery Girl then leaned down and kissed Uraraka on the ankle. Within seconds, her broken ankle was completely healed. Wow, thank you so much. Recovery Girl nodded. Of course, now for you. Are you sure you are fine? It seems to me you have a healing quirk. You're not feeling weak, are you? No, not even a bit. So if that's all, I think I'll go get changed now. Don't want to give the girls a show, said Izuku, winking as he walked by Uraraka and the other female students. Observation room. Well, that just happened, said one of the shadows. Indeed it did. I read the report but couldn't believe it. Guess now I have to, said the small shadow. Aizawa got up from his seat. The way he fights is astonishing. His speed and strength alone are enough, but that explosion could have killed anyone. But he just walked away like it was nothing. Right? Are you sure this is the same kid we rescued? Asked the female shadow. Yes, and he's an absolute beast, said Aizawa. But it's more than that. Those are the moves of a killer. This kid. A beast. Yet he saved that girl from getting crushed. It seems like a bit of the boy that once was is still inside him, said the small shadow. Are you sure you want him here, Nizu? Asked the shadow. From what you told us, he isn't the right mindset right now. That is precisely why he should be here. He has the power, skills, brain, and from what his mother told me, drive, said Nizu. Until he does something crazy, he will be allowed the chance to join this school, just like any other student. With Izuku. Izuku walked out of the campus, but suddenly stopped when someone called out to him. Hey, Midoriya, wait up. Turning around, Izuku found Uraraka running towards him. Oh hey, Uraraka, right? What's up? Need something? Asked Izuku as he waited for her to catch up. Why yeah, I just wanted to thank you for saving me, Uraraka said, bowing. Izuku looked at her. Thank me? Why? I didn't do anything to warrant it. Uraraka looked up. What are you talking about? If it wasn't for you, I would have been crushed. Oh that, don't worry about it. I'm sure someone else would have jumped in, said Izuku. Regardless, I feel like I owe you. So if there's something you want, I'll get it. Oh, nothing expensive though. I'm kind of short on cash at the moment, said Uraraka. You really don't have to. Izuku rubbed the back of his head as he looked at her gleaming brown eyes. If you really feel like you owe me, I'm willing to offer you a trade. Uraraka tilted her head. A trade. Izuku lifted 2 fingers. For 2 things. One is some of your time. We can go and get some coffee or something. And the second thing is your number. Oh, Uraraka blushed slightly. All right, Midoriya, you got yourself a trade. Uraraka took out her phone and passed her contact information to Izuku's phone. There, you have my number, so give me a call soon, said Uraraka as she played with her hair. Izuku nodded. You bet I will. Uraraka smiled. Awesome. So do you want to walk to the station together? Sure. Izuku, for all his fears and broken mind, felt a sense of calm talking to this girl. After talking and getting to know each other a bit, they parted ways and said they would call each other later to set a time and place to get the coffee. Izuku got off at his stop and began to walk home, but felt something or someone watching him the whole way back. As he reached for the doorknob, Izuku's battle instincts suddenly kicked in. He could feel something behind him. Turning around, Izuku popped his claws and pointed them at no one. Izuku then began to sniff the air. This smell, it's familiar somehow. Seeing that whoever it was now gone, Izuku decided to head inside, where he told his mother about the entrance exam and meeting Uraraka. Izuku spent the next couple of days training at a nearby landfill that was down by the beach. He was using his claws to slash the trash into pieces and haul them away. He even had time to spend a day with Uraraka, just like he said. Izuku called her, and they set a day, time, and place to meet up. The place was a local coffee shop. It was a cold day, but Izuku was wearing blue jeans, a green shirt, and a black leather jacket, which was light for the temperature. Sorry I'm late, said Uraraka, walking up to him out of breath. She wore skinny jeans, a pink top, and a heavy winter coat. Don't worry about it. I just got here myself, said Izuku. Uraraka took note of his clothes. Aren't you cold? No, really. It's funny, it seems I'm resistant to both heat and cold temperatures, said Izuku, shrugging it off. Lucky, I have to wear this coat, and I'm still cold, said Uraraka, shivering a bit. Well then, let's get that coffee, shall we? Izuku opened the door for Uraraka. As they walked in, they were immediately hit by the smell of coffee. They ordered, and Izuku was about to pay, but Uraraka insisted she pay. The two went back and forth for a bit before ultimately deciding to split the bill. They took their drinks and decided to sit on a bench near the shop. Ah, that sure does warm the soul, said Uraraka. It sure does. So, do you think you passed the entrance exam? Asked Izuku. Uraraka thought about it. Hard to tell, but maybe? I mean, I did get a few points by destroying robots, but I don't think I did so good on the written part. Izuku took a sip of his drink. I'm sure you did fine. I saw you destroying those robots. Your quirk is really strong. What is it, by the way? Oh, it's called zero gravity. You see these little pads on my fingers? If I touch something with all 5 fingers, I can make anything weightless. Although if I use it too much or go over a weight limit, I get really sick, as you saw at the exam, explained Uraraka. Interesting, your quirk really is amazing, said Izuku, grabbing her hand and seeing the little pads. Uraraka blushed. So what's your quirk? Izuku let go of her hand. More like quirks. You have more than one? Asked Uraraka, surprised. Izuku nodded, lifting his hand up and popping his claws from his left hand. Retractable metal claws, and Izuku lifted up his other arm and sliced it, drawing blood. Midoriya, Uraraka yelled out in a panic. Relax, see. Izuku showed that his arm was now completely healed. I also have super regeneration. Uraraka's eyes widened. Right? I forgot I saw that during the entrance exam. Wow, that's amazing. You're so lucky to have such awesome quirks. Izuku retracted his claws. Right, lucky. Uraraka could see Izuku's eyes change. Sorry, I didn't know it was a sensitive topic. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. It's fine. It's just, never mind. Uraraka then suddenly grabbed his hand and began to feel it. Does it hurt? When you pop your claws. You have super regeneration, but do you still feel pain? Oh yeah, plenty of pain. But I've learned to ignore it for the most part. Every time I use my claws I feel pain, but it's just another thing I have to deal with, said Izuku. Anyway, let's go for a walk. Uraraka nodded and followed Izuku down the shore. The cold ocean air hit their skin, but thanks to the warm coffee they had earlier, it was manageable. So when do you think we'll get the results back? Asked Uraraka. They said 2 weeks, so we should find out in a couple of days. Just then Izuku got a call on his phone. Sorry, it's my mom. Izuku answered. Yeah, mom? Izuku, his mother's voice came from the phone. It's here. The letter from UA, it's here. Oh really? What are the chances? I'll be right over, mom. Izuku then hung up and turned to Uraraka. Seems like my letter is here. Really? Then I should go home and check the mail. Uraraka quickly got up. I'll walk you to the station, said Izuku, chugging the rest of his coffee. Why, you don't have to, said Uraraka. I know, but I want to. Come on. With that, Izuku walked Uraraka to the train station. He waved goodbye as she boarded the train. Izuku then walked back to his house. As soon as he walked through the door, his mother came out running. Izuku. Easy, mom. You're going to hurt yourself, said Izuku, helping his mother up. Here, take the letter. Inko then handed Izuku the letter with the UA symbol on the front. Izuku grabbed the letter. Thanks, mom. Let's open it together. They went to sit down on the coffee table. Izuku then slowly began to open the letter, only to find no letter inside. Huh? What's going on? Asked Izuku, puzzled. That's when a small metal disc, as it landed in front of Izuku, it suddenly began to project the image of All Might. Izuku was startled by the sudden appearance of the #1 hero and shielded his mother. With a snick, he popped his claws. Is this thing on? Asked All Might. It is. Ha ha ha. Hello there, young Midoriya. It is I, All Might, the #1 hero, here to give you some news. Izuku relaxed and retracted his claws. First is, you are looking at the newest teacher at UA. I will be joining UA this semester, so I hope to teach the future heroes a thing or two. Now on to the news that you care about, the UA entrance exam. As you know, the exam was split into 2 parts. First is the written exam, and I am happy to say that you scored a perfect score. Inko smiled at the news. Now on to the second part of the exam, the practical. All Might began to read the points. Are you sure this is right? Really? Wow, okay. For the practical, you will be happy to hear that you scored first place, with a grand total of 289 points. A new school record, I might add. Izuku was a bit confused. I didn't score that many points? What gives? Now you must be thinking, how did I get so many points? Well, you see, the practical exam was actually a 2-parter, villain points and rescue points. You actually received 119 villain points and 70 rescue points. Going through the footage, it seems you didn't even notice saving your fellow test takers. However, it was when you saved Uraraka that made us give you that many points. You chose to rush headfirst into danger in order to save the girl, and that is something UA wants in a student. So Izuku Midoriya, I welcome you to UA. You passed, son, and I hope to see you in the new school term. The image of All Might faded away. Izuku then turned to his mother. Well then, Mom, it looks like I passed. Inko hugged her son. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Tears fell from her face as she embraced him. I'm going to make your favorite food tonight, and as much as you want. Izuku nodded. Thanks, Mom. The two celebrated with a huge dinner. It was getting late, so Izuku decided to go sleep. Well, at least try. It was about 10 p.m. when Izuku got a call on his phone. It was Uraraka. Hey, Uraraka, what's up? Did you find out if you got in or not? Asked Uraraka. I did, and well, I got in. What about you? Asked Izuku. On the other side of the phone, Uraraka smiled. I also passed. Seems like we'll be seeing more of each other. So it seems. I'm glad you got in, Uraraka, honestly, said Izuku. Thanks. Hey, sorry, my parents actually got me a cake, so I'm going to enjoy that before heading to bed. Good night. Good night. With that, Izuku and Uraraka hung up. Izuku walked over to the window and looked outside. Mom was right. This could be a new start for me. I may not know who I really am, but I hope this can show me who I want to be. The others. Izuku was looking forward to this. Well, at least a bit. It was now time for his first day at UA. Izuku made plans with Uraraka to meet up and check to see which class they got into. Just as Izuku was about to leave the apartment, his mother stopped him. Izuku, a word before you go. Izuku stopped and turned. Yeah, Mom? What's up? I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. I know things are pretty crazy and new to you, but do try to make some friends. I know you're talking to that girl already, but make some other friends, all right? Said Inko with a worried smile on her face. Izuku nodded. I'll try, Mom, promise. I'll see you later, all right? Bye, love you. With that, Izuku walked out of the apartment and boarded a train to UA. It was a good 25 minutes away from his house, so he had some time to think about what his mom said. Make friends. How exactly do I do that? I mean, Uraraka is my friend, right? Izuku pondered on what his mother said the whole train ride. He was now in front of UA's gates. Well, here goes nothing. Walking in, the first thing Izuku noticed was the amount of people. He stood still, amazed by the sheer number of students. However, this also posed a problem. With his heightened senses, Izuku could hear and smell it all. Every voice, every drop of a pen, every conversation, and so forth. At times things got bad that they could cause a headache, but Izuku learned to drown out sounds. However, he heard one sound that he remembered. Get the hell out of my way, freak. Turning around, Izuku found Bakugo walking his direction. Izuku felt his anger growing. Sorry, princess. I'll move at once, said Izuku in a condescending tone. As Bakugo walked past Izuku, he pushed him with his shoulder. Animal. Izuku gritted his teeth. Why you? Izuku was about to pop his claws, but stopped when he heard another voice. Hey, Midoriya. This time around, Izuku found Uraraka walking over to him. Hey, good to see you. That uniform really suits you. Uraraka blushed slightly. Thanks, you too. The uniform suits you well. It's good to see you too, by the way. So did you find out what class you were in? Asked Uraraka. Yeah, I'm in class 1A. What about you? Asked Izuku as they walked down the quad area. Uraraka's eyes lit up. Me too. I'm in 1A as well. Man, I can't wait to get to class. Then let's go. I think it's down this way. The two then walked into the main building. Following the signs, they eventually found class 1A. In front of them was a tall door. Why the giant door? Asked Izuku. For giant people, answered Uraraka. Makes sense, whatever, let's go inside. Izuku opened the door to the classroom and noticed people were already inside. He saw Bakugo with his feet kicked up on the desk and the blue-haired boy running over to him. Please remove your feet from the desk this instant, demanded the boy. Easy, Four Eyes. I'm not hurting anyone, said Bakugo. That's when the blue-haired boy spotted Izuku and ran towards him. You. Izuku stared at the boy. Yeah? Please allow me to apologize for my behavior during the entrance exam, said the boy, bowing. All right. Apology accepted. Who are you, by the way? Asked Izuku, confused. The boy adjusted his glasses. My name is Tinya Ida. Ida? Cool. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and this is… Izuku turned to Uraraka and allowed her to introduce herself. Achiko Uraraka, it's nice to meet you, said Uraraka with a smile. As they stood around, something suddenly opened the door to the class, and in walked a sleeping bag. If you're just here to socialize, then you can just leave now, said a very tired-looking man. Izuku recognized him. I know him. He's one of the people that were there when I woke up. The man walked over to the podium. The name is Aizawa, and I'll be your homeroom teacher. All right, now that introductions are out of the way, go put on your gym uniforms and meet on the field. You have 10 minutes. The class, who were all sitting down, looked at each other confused. 9 minutes, said Aizawa. Everyone quickly went off to the locker rooms to get changed. After that, they went to the field. Good, you're all here. Now, you are going to participate in a test to see if you are really worthy of being here. Mr. Aizawa, what about the orientation? Asked Uraraka. We don't have time for that. A hero spends their time doing productive things. Now, Midoriya, think fast. Aizawa threw a ball at Izuku, which he caught with ease. Good reflexes. Aizawa pointed to a white circle. Get inside the circle and throw it as far as you can. This way we can test your current limits. Izuku nodded and went inside the circle. I bet he won't even get past the 50-yard mark, said Bakugo in a mocking voice. Izuku heard him but chose not to say anything. Instead, he wind up and threw the ball as hard as he could. Holding a small device, Azat turned to the class. Not bad, 250 meters. Man, this looks like fun, said a yellow-haired boy. Yeah, we get to use our quirks and everything, said a pink-skinned girl. Aizawa smiled, and as he did, Izuku could smell his change in attitude. Fun, you say? All right, whoever gets last place gets expelled. The class gasped. Why, you can't do that, said Uraraka, surprised. I can and I will. UA gives its teachers a lot of leeway. So I suggest you try your best, said Aizawa. The next stage would be a 50-meter dash. Izuku took his start next to a tall girl with black hair. The starting gun fired and Izuku took off. The class watched as he finished it in 3.59 seconds. Next was the grip strength test. Each student was given a device that measured their strength. One student with multiple arms got a score of 540 kilograms. Izuku's score was over 2 times that amount. He came in at 2,000 kilograms. The next test was the standing long jump. Izuku cleared it with ease. Next was the side steps, which Izuku did 100 of them before he was told to stop. Now it was back to the ball throw. Izuku watched as his class went to throw. Bakugo used his explosions and got 705 meters. Uraraka, on the other hand, got an impressive infinity score. Izuku whistled. Whoa, Uraraka, you sent that ball into space. Good work. Uraraka blushed slightly. Thanks. The next tests were simple long distance, toe touches, and sit-ups. For the sit-ups, Bakugo and a dual-colored boy were going at it. By the time they reached 75, they stopped, but Izuku kept going. All right, Midoriya, I think you can stop now. 169 is enough. Might even be a school record, said Aizawa. Izuku got up as sweat clinged to body, showing off his muscles. Lifting his shirt, Izuku wiped the sweat off his forehead and gave the girls quite the show of his abs. It was now time to go over the results. All right, let's see how you all did. Pressing a button on the device, it began to display the results of the exam. Izuku was in first place. Someone named Momo Yaoyorozu was second. First place, not bad. I'm safe, but… Izuku looked down to see a small boy with purple balls on his head sulking in defeat. My dreams of becoming a hero and getting all the women are dead, said Mineta. However, one other voice cut through everyone. This is bullshit. Everyone turned to find Bakugo gritting his teeth. How did that useless loser get first place? I won't accept this. You left with no quirk and now you come back with this. Tell me what happened to you, Deku. Bakugo then ran at Izuku. The others watched as Bakugo raised his hand ready to blast him in the face. Die. Bakugo pressed his hand up against Izuku's face, and nothing happened? What? Seeing a chance, Izuku went down low and grabbed Bakugo's leg and took him to the ground. Now on his back, Izuku stood over Bakugo. Why you? Bakugo tried to get up, but stopped when he heard a snicked sound. With his fist pointed to Bakugo's face, Izuku popped his claws, but stopped just short of impaling him. I thought you learned your lesson back at the hospital. Seems to me you need another lesson. So how about it? You feel like getting your ass kicked? Asked Izuku as he glared at Bakugo. All right, that's enough. Aizawa yelled out, wrapping his capture weapon around Izuku's arm. If you don't stop it, I will kick the both of you out. Do I make myself clear? Looking over, Izuku saw Aizawa's eyes glow red as his hair spiked up. Izuku scoffed, and with his free hand, he swiped up and snapped Aizawa's capture weapon. Whatever. The metal claws slowly began to retract back into Izuku's forearms. Aizawa turned off his quirk. Good. Now let's get back to this, shall we? Mineta, you better improve, or else you really will be kicked out. All right, class dismissed. Aizawa then began to walk away from the class. Oh, right, the part of me kicking you out. That was all a lie, said Aizawa with a smile on his face. What? Yelled out most of the class. Everyone but Izuku and Momo didn't yell, for they knew he was just messing around. I mean, it was obviously a ploy from the get-go, said Momo. I should have seen this coming, said Ida, disappointed in himself. Hey Midoriya, how did you know Mr. Aizawa wasn't serious? Asked Uraraka. Oh, that, I could smell it. He gave off a distinct smell, and when he said he would kick someone out, said Izuku. Uraraka was confused. Smell? I never knew you could tell someone was lying like that. Exactly how can you smell that? My senses are supercharged. I can see and smell things others can't, explained Izuku, but he could still see a look of confusion on her face. Just think of it like another part of my quirk. With that, everyone went to go get changed and headed to the orientation. It was a pretty boring orientation. They went over rules and regulations, the normal stuff. After that, Izuku and his class went through the different classes: history, art, English, math, and science. Some of the teachers were annoying, especially Present Mike. Maybe it was because he talked too loud. Whatever the case, maybe it was now the end of the school day, and Izuku was walking out of the campus when he heard someone call out to him. Hey, Midoriya, are you heading to the train station? Asked Uraraka, walking with Ida. Izuku turned around. Yeah, you guys want to walk to the station? It's better if we stay together. You never know what could happen, said Ida, adjusting his glasses. Izuku nodded, right. So anyway, why did Bakugo call you Deku? Asked Uraraka. Cause he's an ash asterisk Lu. That's why, said Izuku, much to Ida's shock. Language, yelled out Ida. Really? Just looking at him, I can tell he has a temper, but still, can he really be that bad? Questioned Uraraka. Trust me, he is, but I won't let him or anyone hurt me again. I'm not a Deku anymore, said Izuku. But Deku kinda sounds like you can do it. I kinda like it, said Uraraka with a smile. As Izuku walked, he noticed her smile. Different meaning. If you look at it that way, it doesn't sound too bad. Still, I don't like it. As the three made their way to the station, Aizawa knocked on the door of Nizu's office. Come in. Walking in, Aizawa found Nizu going over some paperwork. Aizawa, what brings you in today? It's about the boy. He was about to kill Bakugo, or at the very least severely hurt him, said Aizawa. Nizu stopped reading his paper. Yes, I thought that would be the case, said Nizu. And yet you put them in the same class? What? Asked Aizawa. Nizu sighed. I want them to eventually reconcile. Tell me what happened. We were doing a quirk apprehension test, and when Bakugo saw the results, he snapped. If I didn't use my quirk, Izuku would have been blasted in the face. Not that it would have mattered. He heals, but still. Eventually, Izuku took down Bakugo and pointed his claws at him. The look in his eyes said it all. It was the look of a killer. Midoriya has done it before, I know he has, and it's only a matter of time before he does again, explained Aizawa. Nizu spun around in his chair. That is troubling. We may have to rethink our approach. Then maybe it's time we call in the big gun, suggested Aizawa. 2 days later. The couple days of school were easy. All they did was go over the syllabus and talk about how the class will be run. However, they were Hero Course students, and as such, they needed to learn that as well. The class waited for the teacher to show up. So who do you think is going to teach us hero stuff? Asked Uraraka. Izuku thought about it. Hopefully someone strong. Just then Izuku sniffed the air. This smell, I know it from somewhere. I am coming through the door like a normal person, said All Might as he opened the door and striked a pose. Wow, it's All Might. In his Golden Age costume, said Kirishima. The class erupted in cheer, but all Izuku did was stare at the #1 hero. All right, settle down, kids. Today we have something very important to go over. You are all in the hero course for one thing, to be heroes, right? So why don't we start doing that? But first you all need to look the part. So here you go. Clicking a button on the desk, the wall behind All Might began to reveal suitcases with numbers on them. These are your hero costumes courtesy of the support department. They carefully went over the designs you've submitted and crafted these masterpieces. Now, go get changed into them and head over to Ground B. With that, All Might ran out of the classroom. The students grabbed their respected case, but when Izuku grabbed his, he thought of something. Wait a minute, I never submitted a hero costume. Izuku looked at the case. So what's in here? As Izuku put on his hero costume, he couldn't help but notice they used green, the same color of his hair. Izuku changed quickly and was one of the first ones out. Izuku came out sporting a skin-tight green and black suit. The suit was mostly green in color but had 3 black streaks coming from his sides. He also had black shoulder pads. The costume stopped there and exposed his arm muscles and forearm. He also wore black gloves and black tactical boots and a green belt. This mask had fully white eyes pieces, large/medium-sized black ears that slicked back, and was part of the main costume. You know, I had to go with the classic Wolverine costume. I added some aspects of the modern version and changed the colors to match Izuku's green hair and eyes. The rest of the class began to arrive. Izuku turned to see their costumes. Not bad. Looks like they thought about their quirks. Momo's is a bit revealing, not that I mind. Ida's is tailored to his speed. Then theirs. However, before he could finish analyzing his classmates, someone called out to him, Midoriya, is that you? Turning around, Izuku found Uraraka walking over to him. Wow, your costume is amazing. Izuku removed his mask. Thanks. He then began to eye Uraraka. You're wearing a spacesuit? Uraraka costume consisted of a skin-tight bodysuit and visor that went over her face. Why, yeah. I think there was some kind of mistake. I didn't mean for it to be so skin-tight. I probably looked weird, she said, blushing slightly. Izuku shook his head. No, you look amazing. The suit, it really brings out your eyes. It also shows off her curves, and I got to say nice. Uraraka's blush grew. Thanks. All right, everyone gather up. Now I bet you are all wondering what you are all doing here. Well, today you are going to be participating in battle trials. You see the building behind me? That will be your battle stage. Inside there is a bomb. You all will be split into teams of 2. Then you will split up into 2 teams. One will be heroes and the other will be villains. The heroes will win by touching the bomb or capturing the villains. The villains win by stopping the heroes or by letting the time run out, 30 minutes. So those are the rules. Let's move on to the teams. All Might then brought out a lottery bowl. Reaching in, All Might began to make the teams. Izuku was paired up with Uraraka or Team A. All right, now let's pick out the heroes and villains. Reaching in both boxes, All Might pulled out Team D for the heroes and Team A for the villains. Izuku's eyes widened. He then looked over to Bakugo, who was glaring at him. Oh, this should be fun, said Izuku with a smile on his face. Both teams were given 10 minutes to prepare. Izuku and Uraraka walked into the building. On the 5th floor they found the bomb. So Midoriya, got any plans? Asked Uraraka as they stood next to the bomb. Izuku thought about it. Maybe. How long can you use your quirk? Depends on the weight. The heavier something is, the less time, explained Uraraka. Nodding, Izuku turned to one of the building's pillars, and with a snick he began to slash the pillar into pieces. Use that and float them over the entrance. Uraraka quickly did it and set a trap. Do you think what would work? Probably not, but it should slow them down a bit. I will go on attack. You should stay here and protect the bomb. I'm not diminishing your capabilities, quite the opposite actually. Since you can make things float, I was thinking you could take the bomb somewhere else, explained Izuku. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. All right, if they get past you, I'll move the bomb to the roof, said Uraraka, setting up the traps. Also, Bakugo will be coming straight for me, said Izuku. How can you be so sure? Asked Uraraka. Izuku pulled his mask back on. Call it a lucky guess. Just then, All Might's voice was heard over the loudspeaker. And your 10 minutes are up. You all know the rules, but if I see anything that will jeopardize your well-being, I will stop the match. Your 30 minutes start now. With a loud buzzer, the exam started. Uraraka, we are playing villains, right? Asked Izuku. She nodded. Yeah. Izuku grinned. Good. Then let's be some villains. With that, Izuku walked out of the room. Uraraka felt a shiver run down her spine as Izuku left. W.O., I better do my part. Observation room. All Might and the rest of Class 1A all gathered in front of a giant monitor that displayed the images of inside the building. So who do you think is going to win? Asked Kaminari. It's hard to say, but I think Bakugo's got this, said Kirishima. All Might laughed. Do not count the others out just yet, young man. First rule of being a hero is that anything is possible. That means even the underdogs have a chance at winning. Turning his attention to the screen, All Might narrowed his eyes at Izuku. This is the perfect chance to see what Midoriya can really do. But I need to be careful. One slip-up could mean one of the others dies. If the reports on him are to be believed, he has more training than most of the teachers here. With Bakugo and Ida. Ida tried to talk strategy, but Bakugo wouldn't have it. He was going in guns blazing. Come on, Bakugo, we should really think of a plan, said Ida, following him inside. Shut it, Four Eyes. The girl is no problem, and Deku is useless. We don't need a plan for those weaklings, said Bakugo, making his way up the stairs. Now on the third floor, the two saw the floor had twists and turns. The walls were made out of pure cement, and the whole place was poorly lit. Stay here, I'll go scout ahead, said Ida, taking off around the corner. Bakugo grunted but walked toward the corner when all of a sudden he heard the sound of metal being slashed, following a scream. Hey, Four Eyes, you alright? Asked Bakugo. Did you trip on something? As Bakugo turned the corner, something came flying at Bakugo. His eyes widened, but he managed to dodge. The object hit the wall behind him. Turning around, Bakugo saw that it was Ida's helmet with 3 slash marks going across the face. Bakugo turned back to the long hallway. Come on out, Deku. I know you're there, he said, explosions at the ready. Slowly making his way down, Bakugo felt very uneasy. He could barely see anything in front of him. That's when he heard something in front of him. Thinking it was Izuku, he reached out and fired a blast. However, nothing was there. Bakugo gritted his teeth. Show yourself, Deku. You know, back at the hospital, I didn't really give you a fair shot, said Izuku, his voice bouncing off the walls. Bakugo looked around but couldn't find him. Let's start our rematch, shall we? With his back against the wall, Bakugo pointed his hand to either side, ready for when Izuku would show up. However, he wouldn't come from either way. Suddenly, a fist came crashing through the cement wall just beside Bakugo's face. Looking over, he then saw the hand grab his face and pull him through the wall. Bakugo's body was flung into a room. With dust all over his face, he got up more pissed off. The outside light illuminated the room. Damn it, Deku. Fight like a man. Face to face, right? Said Izuku, walking through the hole in the wall. There you are, said Bakugo, glaring at Izuku. Izuku cracked his neck. Let's go then. Just then the metal claws began to slowly appear from his knuckles. The light bounced off them. This was it. Izuku was going to show Bakugo why he shouldn't mess with him ever again. Crossing his claws in front of him, Izuku looked at Bakugo through them and let out a growl as he ran at him. Fight me. Bakugo's eyes widened as he saw Izuku run towards him. Raising his hand, Bakugo fired an explosion that connected. However, from the smoke, Izuku appeared, claws at the ready. F***CK, said Bakugo as he used his explosions to fall back. As he did, Izuku's claws stabbed into the ground. Looking up, Izuku pulled his claws free. Why are you running, Bakugo? Are you perhaps scared? Bakugo's eye twitched. Me afraid of you? Never. It's you that should be afraid of me. Using his explosions, Bakugo rocketed towards Izuku. Izuku swung his claws, but Bakugo dodged. Now behind him, Bakugo fired a blast that hit Izuku in the back. The explosion managed to burn Izuku's costume. Stumbling forward, Izuku turned around and swung again. This time he managed to cut at Bakugo's costume. The two fighters jumped back. "You're a nimble one, aren't you?" said Izuku. "Is dodging the best you can do? I'm disappointed. Now let me show you what I can do." Izuku charged at Bakugo head-on. Raising his hands, Bakugo fired off multiple explosions that hit Izuku. From the smoke, Izuku jumped up with his costume partly burned off. Slashing down, Izuku managed to disarm one of Bakugo's gauntlets. Izuku then grabbed that arm. "You bastard." Raising his other hand, Bakugo fired a blast right in Izuku's face. The explosion ripped through the air. As the smoke cleared, Bakugo was shocked to see Izuku still standing. He was even more shocked to see Izuku with blood running down his ears and his face severely burned. Izuku's face twitched from the pain. Taking a deep breath, he began to heal. After a second, Izuku healed completely. Seeing that he was still close, Izuku leaned his back and delivered a powerful headbutt. Izuku's metal skull slammed into Bakugo's nose, completely shattering it. Those explosions really do hurt, Bakugo. They even give me concussions. But like all things, I heal, so everything you do is meaningless. Bakugo yelled out in pain as Izuku let him go. "My fucking nose. I'll kill you for this." Bakugo yelled out, as blood poured down his now deformed nose. Izuku smirked. Bakugo saw this, and it infuriated him. "How dare you look down on me? I'll show you. I'll show you." Gaining distance, Bakugo raised the gauntlet and grabbed a pin that was attached to it. You probably already know this, but these gauntlets aren't just for show. I had them custom made to hold my sweat. Think about it. So much nitroglycerin concentrated into one area. What do you think the results will be? Izuku's eyes widened. "You wouldn't dare." Bakugo smirked. "Try me." Izuku narrowed his eyes and took a step forward. All Might, who was in the observation room, saw this. "Young Bakugo, don't. If you fire off an explosion like that, he'll die." Bakugo simply smiled. "That's the idea." All Might and the class watched on in horror as Bakugo pulled the pin. Just then a massive explosion was released, shattering every window in the building. Izuku's eyes widened as the explosion got close. He tried to jump out of the way, but it was too late. The explosion managed to knock Izuku into a wall and burn his entire right side. "No!" yelled out All Might from the intercom. Izuku fell to his knees. His right side was turned away from the camera, but as the camera turned, the class all gasped. Now facing the camera, Izuku was seen with his arm with third-degree burns. Black burned skin was seen through his entire right side. His arm looked like it was shriveled up and put into a fire pit. Izuku grabbed at his arm. "This exercise is over. Someone call recovery." However, before he could finish, one of the students yelled out. "Sir, look," said Kaminari, pointing at the screen. All Might looked back at the screen. My God. Everyone was shocked to see Izuku stand up, but what shocked them even more was the fact that he was healing. His disfigured arm began to regrow his cells rapidly. However, this meant Izuku could feel it all. He could feel the layers of skin, muscle, and nerves grow back. Groaning in pain, Izuku began to stand up. Grabbing the wall, he broke off a piece of it as he tried to stay upright. After 30 seconds, Izuku now had a fully healed arm. Flexing it, Izuku tested it out. He then looked at Bakugo. "That hurt." Bakugo blinked, but in that split second, Izuku disappeared. "What the?" The next thing Bakugo felt was something digging into his shoulder. Looking down, he saw Izuku's claws sticking out from his shoulder. Blood dripped from the claws as Izuku pulled them free. Bakugo screamed out in pain. However, before he could do anything else, Izuku grabbed Bakugo by the face and began to push him towards a wall. Slamming Bakugo into the wall, Izuku looked up. "You won't hurt me again." "Why you? I will kill you," Bakugo yelled out, muffled by Izuku's hand over his face. Raising his hands, Bakugo fired a blast to get Izuku off of him. Sticking his claws into the ground, Izuku slid to a stop. He watched as Bakugo placed a hand over the 3 puncture wounds. "Why don't you put those claws away and show me what you can do without them?" said Bakugo. Izuku thought about it, and then smiled. "Now why would I do that? Are you scared that I might beat you? Or maybe you'll find out that you aren't as great as you think you are." Bakugo's eye twitched. Izuku smiled. "Looks like I'm right. That fragile ego of yours is going to get yourself killed one day." Just then, All Might's voice was heard through the comms. "Bakugo, Another blast like that, and you forfeit the match. Do I make myself clear? You too, Midoriya. Use those claws to seriously hurt him, and I'm calling this exercise off. It's fine, All Might, yelled out Izuku. I can take anything he can throw at me. Him, on the other hand, well, that's another story. All Might was stunned. Is this kid crazy? As a teacher, I have an obligation to stop this. But I can't help wanting to see how this ends. Izuku motioned to Bakugo. Come on, Bakugo, we don't have all day. With explosions rippling in his hands as Bakugo rushed Izuku. Die. Using his explosions, Bakugo began to bombard Izuku. Flipping over him, Bakugo fired blast after blast. The top part of Izuku's costume was now completely gone thanks to the explosions. But all the while Izuku just stood there, motionless. Come on, fight back, yelled out Bakugo as he hit Izuku in the face with an explosion. Smoke filled the room they were in. Fine, a voice said through the smoke. Just then Izuku's fist appeared. With retracted claws, he hit Bakugo in the stomach. Immediately, Bakugo spit out blood as he fell to his knees. That's something else you failed to understand, Bakugo. My claws aren't the only thing that are made of metal. My entire skeletal system is chromed. That means my knuckles as well. Izuku then kneed Bakugo under the chin, breaking his jaw in the process. Bakugo was sent towards the wall. Hitting it, he looked up as blood ran down his lip. I'll kill you. Reaching down, Izuku then grabbed Bakugo by his costume and lifted him off the ground. Get stronger, and maybe you'll stand a chance. 'Cause right now, you are nothing. Standing him up straight, Izuku then began to punch Bakugo over and over. He was hitting him so hard that ribs were breaking by the sheer impact. Bakugo's blood splattered across the wall and spilled onto the floor as Izuku continued to punch Bakugo over and over again. After all of those years, you finally get to feel what I felt. Every explosion, every burn mark you left on my body, every damn day. The class watched in horror. Sir, aren't you going to stop this? Asked Kirishima. He's going to kill Bakugo if he doesn't stop. All Might knew that. He reached for the mic to end the match, but just as Izuku was going to punch Bakugo one last time, someone touched Izuku on the back, causing him to float. Izuku growled as he looked down. That's when he noticed it was Uraraka. Midoriya, that's enough. He's beaten, no longer a threat. Put me down, Uraraka. You don't know what he did to me. He has to pay, said Izuku on the ceiling. Uraraka was stunned. Yeah, I don't know what he did to you, but look at him. Izuku turned to see Bakugo sitting on the floor, with his back against the wall, a bruised and bloody mess. His face was swollen and his cuts bleed with every breath he took. This was meant to be an exercise. You're acting like an animal, said Uraraka. Izuku looked down at his hands. They were covered in blood. Just then Izuku's mind went blank, and then he remembered something. Images of his hands were seen playing in his mind. Then he saw something red on the floor. Looking down, Izuku noticed it was blood. Then he saw it. A body laying on the floor motionless, and right beside it a combat knife. Just put me down. Uraraka touched her fingertips together and let Izuku down. Landing on his feet, he turned around. The match is over. Villains win, said All Might. Bakugo could barely hear the announcement as he faded in and out of consciousness. And not yet, he said, reaching out his hand. Thanks to his hazy eyesight, Bakugo couldn't see Uraraka was the one standing in front of him. He thought that it was Izuku. Looking down, he saw the other gauntlet that he lost during the fight. Reaching over, he put it on and began to raise his hand. With a shaky hand, he pulled the pin. Izuku heard this and turned around. His eyes widened as he saw Bakugo point the gauntlet at Uraraka. No, he yelled out, rushing to Uraraka. Just as Izuku reached her, Bakugo fired and caused another massive explosion that destroyed the floor they were on. Without thinking, Izuku covered Uraraka, shielding her. The blast hit Izuku's back. The two were then violently thrown out of the building. The explosion was enough to send them towards the building across the street. Izuku, seeing that Uraraka would smash into the building, quickly twisted his body and took the hit for her. With a loud thunk, Izuku hit his head on the wall so hard that he broke it. The two then fell to the floor. Uraraka was knocked out as a result of the explosion. Izuku was as well, but after a few seconds he stood back up. Looking around, Izuku noticed that there was a lot of debris from the building. Uraraka, Uraraka, where are you? Just then, Izuku saw a hand sticking out from underneath the rubble. Going over, he picked up the pieces of the cement wall and tossed them aside. That's when he found her. Cuts and bruises were seen all over Uraraka's body as she laid there unconscious. I'm so sorry, this is all my fault, said Izuku as he picked her up. He then turned to leave, but that's when the medical bots arrived. Seeing that they were there to help, Izuku placed Uraraka on a stretcher. The bots quickly took Uraraka away. That's when All Might showed up. All Might's eyes widened when he saw Izuku. Midoriya, are you alright? Izuku was confused. That's when he noticed one of the medic bots was trying to get him on a stretcher as well. What do you want? He asked it. The bot began to poke at Izuku. Looking down, Izuku saw that he had a piece of rebar going through his abdomen. When did I get that? Izuku thought nothing of it. Reaching down, he grabbed the rebar and pulled it out. The piece of rebar hit the floor. All Might was about to say something, but before he could, the wound on Izuku's abdomen healed completely. All Might blinked twice. Right, I forget you could heal. Come on, Midoriya, we still need to go over how you did. Izuku nodded and followed the number 1 hero in complete silence. Now in the observation room, Izuku was the only one out of the 4 that took part in the exercise still standing. Bakugo was severely injured and Ito was found with 3 claw marks across his face and knocked out. The class were all distant towards Izuku, but he didn't care. He just wanted all this to be over with. Well, that was more thrilling than I thought it was going to be. So can anyone tell me, who takes the MVP award? Just then a girl with long black hair raised her hand. Yes, Yaoyorozu. The MVP should go to Midoriya, said Momo, much to Izuku's surprise. Haha, you are correct, but do you know why? Asked All Might. Yes, while his methods are cruel to say the least. They were methods that any villain could use against us. With his strength and regenerative capabilities proved that we should expect the unexpected, explained Momo. All Might was surprised. That's exactly right. Well done, Yaoyorozu. Now remember, this world is filled with weird and powerful quirks, so we can't assume someone's power based on looks. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Now let's continue with the rest of the exercise, shall we? Izuku stood off by himself for the remainder of the class. Occasionally, he would look up at the screen to see what type of quirks his classmates had, but that was about it. It was now the end of the class, and All Might stood in front of the students. Well, that was a successful first battle trial. You all did amazing. So keep up the good work, and I'm sure you will all become great heroes. With that, go get changed and head back to class. With that, All Might took off, leaving the class behind. However, as he turned the corner, All Might deflated in a puff of smoke and became really skinny. And man, that was risky. I was barely able to teach that class, said All Might, coughing out blood. Izuku sniffed the air and smelled smoke, but chose to ignore it. After going to get changed, Izuku went back to class there and found Uraraka already out of the nurse's office. Not saying anything to anyone, Izuku went to his desk and put his head down. The day went on as usually, but no one talked to Izuku, not even Uraraka. The final bell rang and everyone got up to leave, but as Izuku was grabbing his stuff, someone stopped in front of his desk. Looking up, Izuku found Uraraka. Can I talk to you for a bit? She asked, much to the surprise of the class. Izuku nodded. Yeah. The two got their stuff and began to walk out of class. They went to the quad area and stood under a tree. Izuku leaned up against the tree. Look, if this is about what happened during the battle trial. However, before Izuku could finish, Uraraka bowed. Thank you, and I'm sorry. This surprised Izuku, who pushed off the tree. Huh? Why are you thanking me but also apologizing? Asked Izuku. The girls told me that when Bakugo fired off another blast you shielded me from it. If you didn't do that I would have gotten hurt. And I'm apologizing for calling you an animal. That was stupid of me. Uraraka said, still bowing. Izuku blinked a few times. He then sighed. Look, it's me that should be apologizing to you. And Bakugo, but I'll get to him later. I went overboard, and I was mad. If you didn't stop me when you did, I might have gone too far. So thank you. Uraraka looked up at Izuku. She could tell he was genuinely sorry. Well, I guess we both stand to gain something from this experience, don't we? All right, just don't do it again. Or next time I might have to step in and take you down myself. Izuku smiled. Well then, I better watch what I do from now on. Uraraka giggled. I'm glad to hear that, Midoriya. Maybe you can tell us how you plan to change yourself at Principal Nizu's office, said Aizawa, walking towards the two. Izuku lost his smile. Yeah, I thought that would be the case. He then turned to Uraraka. I'll see you tomorrow? Uraraka nodded. You bet. But make sure to text me when you get out. Izuku waved goodbye. So, what's going on between you two? Asked Aizawa, with a smirk on his face. Izuku scoffed. Nothing, don't worry about it. Anyway, let's get this over with. The two then walked to Nizu's office. Opening the door, Izuku found Nizu sitting behind his desk. Midoriya, glad you could make it. Did I even have a choice? Asked Izuku, taking a seat across from him. No, but honestly, if you wanted, we wouldn't be able to stop you from leaving, said Nizu. Would you like some tea? Sure. Izuku watched as Nizu reached over and poured him a cup of tea. Here you are. Nizu pushed the cup across the desk for Izuku to take. Izuku grabbed it and smelled it. This smells funny. He looked up to Nizu to see him smiling. So why did you call me in for? I assume you found out what I did during class. What are you going to do? Suspend me? Expel me? Oh no, nothing like that, said Nizu. This surprised Izuku. Really? I just beat a fellow student half to death, and you are just letting me go? How is he, by the way? Well, not exactly. We won't expel you or anything like that, but you clearly have some things you need to work through. I know you are still trying to figure out who you are, so that's why I want you to talk to a counselor. As to how Bakugo is doing, Recovery Girl healed him, but he still needs to rest up. He should join class tomorrow, said Nizu. Izuku sat back on his chair. Look, I'm grateful for everything that you've done for me. Really, I am. You want me to behave? Fine, I'll tone it down. But I'm not seeing any counselors. I don't need it. Why would I want to sit down with someone just to tell me what I already know? Nizu then reached into his drawer and pulled out a tablet. This is the video from the exercise today. The video of Izuku beating on Bakugo began play. After a minute, Nizu paused the video. Tell me, what do you see here? Izuku leaned in and saw himself. Me, of course. Look closer. Look at your face. Izuku narrowed his eyes on his face. The still image of Izuku looking at his hands in horror was paused on the tablet. You remembered something, didn't you? Izuku looked away. Tell me, Midoriya, what did you remember? That's when Aizawa walked up behind Izuku and placed his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Nothing you say leaves this room, Midoriya. Judging by the look on your face, you remembered something horrible. Blood. I remembered blood. I was in a room with blood all over the floor. There was a knife beside me and a body. I think I killed before, but not just once. Izuku looked down at his hands. Nizu and Aizawa looked at each other. Is that the only thing you remember? Asked Aizawa. For now, yeah. Izuku turned to Aizawa. You were there when I was found, right? I want to read the police report. I want to know what they did to me. I don't think that's a good idea, Midoriya, said Nizu. Why not? I have a right to know. If I ever want a chance to find out who I am, I need to see those files, said Izuku. Nizu sighed. We can't just hand them over to you. Tell you what. Go to a counselor, and I'll see what I can do. Izuku shook his head. Not good enough. I need guarantee that you won't just fool me later. Nizu smiled. Smart man, but you are in no position to negotiate for this. Remember, you did beat a student half to death. As I said before, we won't expel you or suspend you, but you will now be under heavy surveillance. Another outburst in anger, and I will take action. Do I make myself clear? Izuku got up. Fine, I'll be leaving now. For someone so small, you sure do give out a fierce aura. Izuku was about to walk out of the door when he stopped. Oh, by the way, that tea doesn't have any flavor anymore. You might want to get a new batch, Izuku said as he walked out of the door. Aizawa walked over to Nizu. He's hurting. I know. He reminds me of a certain underground hero I once knew, said Nizu. Aizawa groaned. I'll keep looking after him, but if he displays another burst of anger like he did today, I'm not sure I would be able to stop him. I went over the footage. He was purposely avoiding hitting anything vital with his claws. He was basically toying with Bakugo the entire time, just to prove a point. If Midoriya really wanted, he could have killed Bakugo 10 times over. That is why he must never learn what they made him to be. If he remembers that, then there's no telling what it might do to him, said Nizu, replaying the video of Izuku. Midoriya for sure can be either one of two things: a great hero or a great villain. And I for one wouldn't want to fight him, said Aizawa, looking out the window. We have the exercise at the USJ next week on Monday. I request that all might be there. In case something does happen, he could deal with Midoriya. Nizu nodded. I agree. This will also be a great opportunity to find out if he has what it takes to be a hero or not. One more thing, Nizu. What are we going to do about Bakugo? Asked Aizawa. Midoriya has anger issues, but Bakugo does as well. And considering his record, I don't think he has what it takes. Right, the quirkless hater. What he did in middle school and elementary is concerning and will not be tolerated here. However, I do believe he could change, whether that be with words, or, as Izuku demonstrated, with action. Bakugo may think twice now before he calls someone by derogatory names, said Nizu. With Izuku walked down the now empty halls of UA. I need to know what exactly they did to me. But most importantly, who did this to me? With Bakugo woke up hours later in the nurse's office. It was now an hour past since school let out. Ah, good to see you awake, son, said Recovery Girl. Where am I? Asked Bakugo as he tried to sit up. Just then a sharp pain resonated from his ribs, forcing him back down. Easy there, your wounds aren't fully healed. I did what I could, but the damage was extensive, explained Recovery Girl. But don't worry, one more kiss, and you will be good as new. I was just waiting for you to wake up. Recovery Girl then leaned in and kissed Bakugo. Instantly, he felt much better. There you are, good as new. Now take it easy for the rest of the day. My quirk uses the body's natural healing process, so you may feel tired. Bakugo said nothing as he got up and changed. After leaving, he exited the building. That damn Deku. He humiliated me. I will make him suffer for this, even if it's the last thing I do. Unknown location. The doctor and his assistant were hard at work making something that could kill Izuku. And after weeks of planning and forging, they were close. Doctor, how goes your research? Asked a voice coming from the monitor. The doctor jumped by the sudden voice. Master, we are nearly done. All we need to do now is make them. Good. Good. So what is it that you are building, doctor? Asked the voice. With the limited amount of adamantium you gave us, we were able to forge them into these, said the doctor, holding blueprints. I see. Using it against him. How clever, doctor. And you are sure this would work? Asked the voice. The doctor nodded. Without question, and the best part is, you'll have more than one opportunity to kill him. Putting down the blueprints, the image of a hollow point bullet was seen drawn on it. Good. Have it ready by Monday. I need it for something I have planned, said the voice. The doctor nodded as the voice disappeared. Just then the assistant walked up to the doctor. How sure are you that it will work? About 50% sure, but that doesn't matter now. I'm banking on our other experiment to work. How is it going, by the way? Asked the doctor. There is progress, but things are getting complicated, said the assistant. That is to be expected. Tell our associates to continue their work. The assistant nodded and went away. Get ready. Izuku was laying in bed. It was about 3 a.m. when he began to thrash around. And no, I don't want this, he kept saying over and over. Izuku was having a dream. No, rather a nightmare. Every night he had the same dream. He stood over adult men, with his claws dripping with blood. Then came the pain. He was getting flashbacks to when the doctor would experiment on him. He could feel every cut, burn, and bruise the doctor ever performed on him. Waking up in a cold sweat, Izuku's breathing was heavy. He looked down at his hand to see that he had popped his claws without wanting to. He quickly retracted them and got out of bed. What am I? He asked himself as he looked up to the night sky. It was now 7 a.m. and Izuku hadn't slept since he woken up from his nightmare. He took a shower and went about his normal routine. Now at school, Izuku was surprised to see several people standing outside the main gate. What the hell is this? Just then, several people turned to Izuku and began pushing mics into his face. Can you tell us if the rumors are true, that All Might is teaching here at UA? What about rumors that he's here looking for something? All the questions began to overwhelm Izuku. "Shut up," he yelled out, and with a snick, he popped his claws and destroyed one of the mics the reporter had. The crowd fell silent. "Move, if you really want to find out. Make an appointment and stop wasting my time. Now if you'd excuse me, I have class to get to." Walking into the school, Izuku was startled when a large metal wall slammed behind him. "That mouse takes security seriously," said Izuku as he turned to the main building. However, as he did that, he smelled something in the air. Turning around, he saw nothing but the steel wall. "One of those guys smells rotten." Izuku shrugged it off and went to class. Now in homeroom, Aizawa had an announcement. "All right, everyone, a few things before we start. I saw the tapes of the exercise yesterday, and most of you did good work. That being said, Midoriya, you are too over-reliant on your quirk and are quick to anger. You have to take control, or else you'll make stupid decisions. That goes for you too, Bakugo. You knowingly fired an explosion after the exercise was over. If it were up to me, you'd be expelled, but it's not up to me. So consider yourself lucky. You won't get another chance." Izuku looked at his desk and thought back to when it happened. I know it was wrong, but why was it so easy? I almost killed him and I felt nothing in that moment. Why? Now that that's out of the way, as many of you know, the media got wind of All Might teaching here and are swarming the campus. They can't get in, so that's a plus. However, I would ask all of you to refrain from making any threats to them as well. Aizawa looked over at Izuku. Izuku narrowed his eyes. Although that's not the only thing you should be worried about. The class was worried. This sounded serious. "You have to pick the class president." The class erupted in cheer. "I want to do it." "No, I want to do it." "Screw you extras. I'm the logical choice." Everyone in the class wanted to be president. Well, everyone except Izuku. Aizawa then activated his quirk and silenced the class. "I don't care how you pick. Just pick before homeroom ends," said Aizawa, going into his sleeping bag. That's when Momo raised her hand. "We should vote on it. It's the logical choice." The class agreed. "All right, everyone. I'll pass out slips of paper and write down who you want to be class president," said Ida. The class did just that. Izuku voted for Momo, since she was the most level-headed of the bunch. As the final results came out, Izuku couldn't believe what he was seeing. "All right, it's official. With 6 votes, Midoriya is your president. And with 4 votes, Momo is your vice president," said Aizawa. The pair then walked to the front. "How the heck did I get voted for? Especially after what happened during the battle trials. I thought you guys hated me." Mina shook her head. "Hated? No, afraid? Maybe just a bit, but we all saw what you did for Uraraka. You protected her with your own body. That takes guts." "That's right. Besides, your role was that of a villain, so it makes sense for you to let loose a bit," said Kirishima. Izuku looked over at Uraraka, who nodded, agreeing with the rest of the class. Izuku sighed. "Well, all right then. Seems like I'm the class president now." Just then the lunch bell rang, signaling the start of lunch. Izuku joined up with Ida and Uraraka. As they were walking, Ida congratulated Izuku. "Congrats on winning, Midoriya. I sure hope you become a fine class president." Izuku nodded. "Thanks, Ida, but to tell you the truth, I didn't really want this spot. I just kinda got thrown into it. Regardless, I think you'll be a great class president, Midoriya," said Uraraka with a smile. "So, Midoriya, I have to ask, why do you want to become a hero?" asked Ida. Izuku's eyes widened. That's a difficult question to answer. To be honest, it's like the class president thing. I just kinda got thrown into it. Something happened that caused me to lose some of my memories, so I'm still trying to piece things out. If I had to guess, it's to make sure I don't become something I don't want to be." "I see. So that's your motivation. And I'm sorry about your memory. I do hope they come back soon," said Ida, grabbing a plate of food. "What about you, Uraraka? Why do you want to be a hero?" asked Izuku, also grabbing a plate. The trio went to sit down. "For the money." "The money?" asked Izuku and Ida, surprised by this. "Don't get me wrong, I still want to help people and all that. But my parents are not in the best spot financially. They run a construction business and things have been slow. I want to be a hero and sign with a top agency so I can give back to my parents," Uraraka said, taking a bite of her food. Ida nodded. "A noble cause. Wouldn't you agree, Midoriya?" "Yeah, nothing wrong with making some money while helping people. Still better than my reason for being here," said Izuku. Just then alarms began to blare out in the cafeteria. Izuku, Ida, and Uraraka all stood up. "What's going on?" asked Uraraka. That's when the stampede of students all came rushing towards the exits, threatening to trample over them. Izuku looked around, but then he smelled something. This smell, it's the same as this morning. He then turned his attention outside. That's when he saw the reporters from the morning making their way inside. "It's the reporters from this morning," Izuku said as he was being pushed by a wave of students. "We need to stop everyone from panicking, but how?" asked Ida. That's when Izuku saw Uraraka was hit hard from behind by someone. Reaching over, he caught her before she tripped. With an arm around her, Izuku helped her up. Thanks for that, Midoriya," she said, blushing slightly. "Don't mention it. Someone is going to get hurt if this keeps up. We need to do something," said Izuku. That's when he got an idea. "Uraraka, think you can make me float?" Uraraka looked at him confused. "Yeah, but why?" "Trust me, I got an idea. When you see me pop my claws, cover your ears." Uraraka nodded and touched Izuku on the chest, causing him to float up. As he floated towards the roof, he popped his claws and stuck them into the ceiling. He then began to monkey bar his way towards the exit. Looking down, he saw that Ida and Uraraka were covering their ears. Perfect. Izuku then took out both of his claws and floated on the ceiling. Retracting the left and right claws, and leaving only the middle one, he smashed them together, causing a loud metal-on-metal sound to vibrate throughout the cafeteria. Everyone stopped and looked up to Izuku. "Will you all just relax?" he yelled out, making sure that everyone could hear him. "I thought this was the best school in all of Japan. Guess I was wrong. You reflect the school, and look at you, scared of some loud sounds and lights. In case you haven't noticed, it's the media from this morning. So I suggest we all go back to enjoying our lunch before someone gets hurt," said Izuku, looking down at the students. The students all began to whisper and talk amongst themselves before ultimately going back to their seats. Izuku sighed. "Uraraka, you mind putting me down now?" Uraraka nodded. "You got it." She then touched her fingertips together and let Izuku down. Landing on his feet, Izuku walked over to Ida and Uraraka. "Now then, shall we go back to our food?" The trio then sat down. "I'm impressed, Midoriya. You handled that situation well," said Ida. "It's not a problem. I'm more concerned about how they got in here in the first place. The gate should have stopped them," said Izuku with a bit of worry. "That's right. Only people with special IDs can get through the gate. I wonder what happened?" asked Ida as they went back to their food. After lunch was over, the trio went back to class, but as they were about to enter the room, Momo stopped Izuku. "Midoriya, a word please." Ida and Uraraka turned to Izuku, who were just as surprised to see her speak to him. "Sure." Izuku then turned to them. "Go on in, guys. I'll be there in a few." The two then walked into the room, but as she walked in, Uraraka glanced back at Momo. "So what's up? No offense, but you don't strike me as the type to start up a conversation out of the blue." "I just wanted to say awesome work taking control of the situation. It showed your leadership skills, although that sound you made was kind of loud," said Momo. Izuku raised an eyebrow. "Thanks? You pulled me aside to tell me this." Momo nodded. "That, and to tell you that I've taken an interest in you, Midoriya." Izuku's eyes went wide. "Interested how?" Momo walked up to him and got close to his face. "I'll leave that to your imagination." She then walked into class without saying another word. That was weird. Izuku didn't give it another thought. The rest of the class was filler. Apparently, they were going to do some special training today, but it got pushed back to Wednesday, thanks to the break-in. After school, Nizu and the other teachers were going over the events of the day. "So any ideas on how the gate was disintegrated?" asked Nizu. "Whoever it was, they have a powerful quirk. The door was reinforced, and they turned it to dust," said Power Loader. "Anything on the cameras?" asked Aizawa. "There is this guy." Nizu pressed a button on the table, and the image of a tall man with a gray hoodie was seen on the screen behind him. "Someone with such a powerful quirk. It's a shame they turned to a life of crime," said Aizawa. "Regardless, this was clearly an attack meant to test us. I believe they will strike again, and this time with much more clear intentions," explained Nizu. Wednesday. It was now the day the class was meant to participate in a special course, and just like Monday, Izuku had the same nightmare. But he dragged himself out of bed and went to school. Now in homeroom, Aizawa stood at the podium. All right, class. Today you will be going to an off-campus facility called the USJ. This place is specialized for rescue missions. You will all be tested on how well you do under different situations, explained Aizawa. The class cheered. That sounds awesome, said Kirishima. Everyone relax, yelled out Aizawa. Thanks to Monday's incident, we are increasing the number of teachers going with you. Myself and All Might are going. We will also be accompanied by one more hero. You'll find out who it is when we get there. Now go get changed into your hero costumes and get on the bus. You have 10 minutes. The class quickly went to change. Thanks to his fight with Bakugo, Izuku's costume was damaged and needed repair. However, thanks to a student, they were able to repair it just in time. Izuku, along with the class, went outside where they found a bus waiting for them. All right, everyone. The bus seems large enough, so pick whatever seat you like, said Momo, addressing the class. Now on the bus, Izuku decided to take a quick nap to catch up on the sleep that he missed thanks to the nightmare. But even now, he was still seeing images play in his mind. This time was different. This image was of him in a test tube. He could see nothing but murky green water, followed by the sound of drills. Then came the pain. Izuku then suddenly snapped his eyes open and popped his claws. The class were talking to themselves when this happened and fell silent. Izuku looked around. His eyes were wide and his breathing heavy. He saw his classmates all look at him. He then looked down to see his claws. He took a deep breath and retracted his claws. You all right, Midoriya? Asked Uraraka. Izuku nodded. Yeah, I'm good, just a nightmare. So what were you guys talking about? Oh, we were talking about our quirks, Ribbit, said Tsu. Yeah, we all have some amazing quirks. Although I don't like mine, it's not as flashy as the others, said Kirishima, activating his hardening quirk. You serious? Asked Izuku. If I had to say, I think your quirk, Kirishima, is one of the better ones. You can use it as an offensive and defensive weapon, explained Izuku. You really think so? I haven't thought of it like that. Thanks, man, said Kirishima with a smile. So what about you, Midoriya? What's your quirk? Asked Mina. Izuku raised his fist, and with a snick he popped his claws. Quirks, to be precise. I have these metal claws, and as all of you saw during the exercise the other day. Izuku then moved his other arm, and with his claws he sliced his forearm straight down. Blood began to drop down his arm, much to his classmates' horror. Midoriya, yelled out Uraraka, concerned. Izuku shook his head. It's fine, see. Wiping the blood away, Izuku showed that the wound was gone. I also have super regeneration, along with enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, and senses. I can smell things from really far away and see pretty much in pitch black. Although, there is something I can't see very well. Oh, and what might that be? Asked Momo. Izuku then pointed to Hagakure. I know she's invisible, but I can still see an outline of her. Hagakure's eyes widened. Really? Izuku nodded. Yeah, but don't worry, it's not a full picture, so I'm not seeing much. Hagakure sighed. Oh, thank goodness. I thought you saw me naked for a second. Wait, so how good is your sense of smell then? Asked Mineta. Izuku sniffed the air. He then pointed at Mineta. You had pepperoni pizza for breakfast. He then pointed at Uraraka. You had mochi. He then pointed at Kirishima. A chocolate protein shake. The rest of the class looked at the three he pointed out. Well, is he right? They all nodded. Whoa, now that's impressive. Just then Aizawa turned to the class. All right, everyone, time to be quiet. We have arrived. The bus stopped in front of a giant dome building. Whoa, UA doesn't go cheap, said Izuku, looking at the building. Come everyone, get inside. The other instructor is already inside, said Aizawa as he walked into the building. Once inside, the class was greeted by 13, the space hero. Hello everyone, and welcome to the USJ. Uraraka's eyes gleamed. Wow, it's 13. She's my favorite hero. Izuku eyed 13 down, not much of the physical type. I wonder what kind of quirk she has. Alright guys, listen up. 13 here is going to explain everything, so pay attention, said Aizawa. Thanks, Aizawa. So this is the USJ. Here you will learn rescue tactics when facing unforeseen scenarios. As many of you know, quirks can be helpful in rescuing, but they can also be deadly. Take my quirk for example. It's called Black Hole. I can suck up anything and break it down to its molecular compound. Perfect for rescue, but also deadly if used on a person. Explained 13. Be very careful how you use your quirks. They can do more harm than good. The class all clapped. Thank you, so let's get started, shall we? Hey 13, I thought All Might was supposed to be here. What happened? Asked Aizawa. He ran out of time and is taking a break right now. He said he would join us shortly. Said 13, holding up 3 fingers. Aizawa sighed. Can't do anything about that. Oh well, we'll just start without him. Just then Izuku, who was in the back of the class, sniffed the air and smelled something familiar. This smell, it's the same from Monday. Izuku then began to walk forward until he pushed past his class and stood at the ledge of the stairs leading down to the main plaza. Midoriya, what are you doing? Asked Aizawa. Narrowing his eyes towards the fountain in the middle of the USJ, Izuku put on his mask and slowly began to show his claws. We got company, Mr. Aizawa, and they aren't friendly, said Izuku as he raised his claws. Aizawa was confused. He too was looking down at the plaza, but couldn't see anything. That's when a black portal began to appear, and from the portal, several villains appeared. Are those robots like the entrance exam? Asked Kirishima, walking towards the ledge, only to be stopped by Izuku's claws appearing in front of him. Those aren't robots, those are real villains, said Aizawa as he pulled down his goggles. Everyone get back. 13, protect the students. Izuku then turned to Aizawa. Are you really planning on taking them on all by yourself? That's suicide. Here's your first lesson, Midoriya. A hero is nothing without a few tricks up his sleeve. Now go and get out of here. Aizawa then ran down the stairs and towards the villains. Izuku gritted his teeth. You better not die. I still need some answers from you. He then retracted his claws and turned to the rest of the class. Down at the fountain, the black portal suddenly got bigger, and 2 people and 1 thing walked through. One of them was a man with pale, dry skin and a bunch of hands all over his body. The other was a man with a lab coat. I shouldn't be here, the man in the lab coat said. Doctor, my patience with you is wearing thin. You are here only because my master told me to bring you along. Although he did not tell me the reason, you will do your job and shut up, said the man with the hands. Behind them stood a tall, muscular-like monster, with razor-sharp claws and a bird-like face. Just then the portal closed and reformed into that of a person. Shigaraki, everyone is here. Shigaraki nodded. Good work, Kurogiri. You know the plan, do your part. Wait, where is All Might? The intel said he would be here. Just then Shigaraki noticed that he was losing minions. Oh, what's this? In front of the pack was Aizawa, using his capture weapon to take down minions. It seems like the legendary hero Eraserhead has graced us with his presence. Kurogiri, go deal with the students. We can't have them leaving. Kurogiri nodded. Of course. He then teleported himself away. What about me? Asked the doctor. You will stay here, said Shigaraki. USJ entrance. 13 was rushing to get the students out of the USJ. Come on, everyone, hurry. Izuku was running beside his class when he smelled something. Everyone stop. Just then the black portal Izuku saw in the plaza appeared in front of them. You have good senses, boy. If you hadn't stopped when you did, I would have teleported you all. Hello, everyone. We are the League of Villains. With a snick, Izuku popped his claws. Yeah, we didn't ask, said Izuku. Kurogiri narrowed his eyes. Those claws? I see, so you are the one. This confused Izuku as well as the rest of the class. Regardless, I have a job to do. However, before Kurogiri could activate his quirk Bakugo, and Kirishima jumped at him, quirks at the ready. Did you honestly believe we would just let you? Asked Kirishima. From the smoke of the explosion, Kurogiri's voice was heard. And did you honestly believe that you could stand up to me? I will complete my job, now begone. Kurogiri then activated his quirk and blanketed the students in a black mist. Izuku saw this and quickly pushed Ida and Uraraka out of the mist. Midoriya. Ida and Uraraka tried to reach out to him, but it was too late. Izuku and most of the class was gone. Izuku felt like he was falling, and opening his eyes he noticed he was. What the? He looked down to see he was falling towards a mountain area. Izuku tried to slow his fall by stabbing his claws into the mountainside, but his idea quickly fell apart when he hit a ledge and hit the ground hard. Thanks to his healing powers, Izuku got back up. Man, that hurt. Where am I? He looked around to find no one. That is until he heard the sound of fighting just over a cliff side. He walked over to see Momo and Jiro fighting some villains. They seemed to be holding their own. Wait a minute. Izuku then looked up and saw another thug ready to jump on them. Oh hell no. Jiro and Momo were doing the best they could. Momo was creating several swords and bow staffs to fight off the villains. Jiro was using her quirk to disorient them so she could attack, and it was working. That is until the villains got smart and attacked in groups. The girls were slowly being overwhelmed. We can't take on this many, Jiro said, knocking another villain back. Momo created a shield. I know. We need backup. Just then a loud voice was heard from above them. You're mine. The two girls looked up to see a villain with sharp claws ready to slice them. Momo tried to create something, but she was too slow. The villain was just inches away from them when from out of nowhere Izuku tackled him in midair. The two then tumbled before stopping with Izuku on top of the villain. Midoriya? Focus up. You drop your guard, and you're dead. Izuku yelled as he dug his claws into the villain's chest. Everyone in the mountain area stopped in their tracks. This included Momo and Jiro. Izuku stood up with blood dripping down his claws. Did that kid just kill him? Asked one of the villains. Momo and Jiro were just as shocked. Izuku then turned to the rest of the villains. All right, who's next? Monday before the attack. The doctor was excited. This is it. We have done it. The weapon is now complete. In front of him was a briefcase. Inside there was a .44 Magnum handgun and 6 adamantium-tipped hollow point bullets. Doctor, are you done? Asked a voice through a monitor. Yes, sir, we are finished. Here is the weapon capable of killing the boy. The doctor grabbed the briefcase. Good, good. Now get ready. You are going to be the one to kill the boy. The doctor's eyes went wide. Emmy, what? You made him. It is only natural for you to be the one to end him. But I don't know how to shoot a gun. I won't be able to hit him, said the doctor. Then you are in luck. The attack has been moved to Wednesday. I suggest you use that time to practice. With that, the voice disappeared. What did you do to me? With the blood still fresh on his claws, Izuku looked at the remaining villains. You guys came here to kill us, right? I don't see what's so wrong about killing a few of you in return. The villains all flinched. Izuku sniffed the air and smiled. You're afraid? Good. You should be. Rafa. The girls watched as Izuku ran towards one of the villains. The villain tried to use their quirk, but before they could, Izuku came in and stabbed both of his claws into their stomach. The villain let out an agonizing yell as they slumped over dead. Izuku then tossed them aside. All the villains now had one singular focus. Kill this kid, one of them yelled out. That's when several villains used their quirks on Izuku. One in particular managed to wrap Izuku up with his elongated arms. Got him. Everyone attack, he yelled out. Izuku growled as the villains ran towards him. You think this is enough to stop me? Twisting his body, Izuku managed to fling the villain with the long arms to the side. This in turn caused his arms to take out the other villains that were running at him. Feeling that the grip around him was loosened, Izuku began to run towards the villain holding him. The villain was barely getting up when Izuku came up and kicked him across the face, knocking him out. The other villains were barely getting up when Izuku came in and tackled one to the ground and slashed his claws across the face of the villain. The other villains finally got their bearings and started to attack. One of the villains pulled out 2 knives and managed to get Izuku on the back. Izuku's costume was slashed on the back. The blood ran down his back as Izuku growled. I got him. However, to his horror, the villain watched as the slash marks down Izuku's back began to heal. Ah shit. Guys, hee. However, before he could finish the sentence, Izuku stabbed into the villain's neck, killing him. With blood splattered across his face, Izuku raised his claws. His eyes burned red with rage. Momo and Jiro were horrified. We have to stop him, said Jiro, watching as Izuku slashed another villain across the chest. But how? If we get anywhere near him, he might slash us too, said Momo. That's when Jiro remembered. His senses, they're supercharged, right? If we can overload his senses, then he might calm down. Momo nodded. Right. All right, Jiro, I'll distract him. When you see an opening, use your quirk at full strength. Jiro connected her jacks to her boots, which were speakers. Ready. Opening the palm of her hand, Momo began to create something. After a few seconds, a canister appeared that was labeled Flash Bang. Perfect. Let's do this. She then tossed it towards Izuku. Meanwhile, Izuku stabbed his claws into the chest of another villain. That's when another villain with a sword came in, but Izuku simply raised his claws. When the sword hit Izuku's claws, it shattered into pieces. He then lifted his arm and stabbed the villain underneath the chin. With blood covering his claws and knuckles, Izuku let out a roar, but that's when Momo's Flash Bang landed beside him. Startled by the sound, Izuku looked directly at it, only to have it explode. First, a bright flash of white light blinded Izuku. Then came the thundering sound of popping. Now it was Jiro's turn. Plugging in her earphones jacks, she amplified the sound of her heartbeat and let out a massive sonic attack. The attack broke the ground around it as it hit Izuku head-on. Izuku immediately plugged his ears and fell to his knees. With his vision blurry and unable to hear, Izuku turned to look at Momo and Jiro. "Oh, I think we just pissed him off even more," said Jiro, watching as Izuku slowly got up. That's when Momo yelled out, "Midoriya, snap out of it. We need to meet with the others and get out of here." With the sound still vibrating in his head, Izuku pushed himself up slowly. "It's not working," yelled out Jiro as she could no longer hold her quirk. The sound waves dissipated and Izuku began to heal. However, as he lifted his claws, he saw the blood on them and stopped dead in his tracks. His breathing suddenly became heavy as he began to remember something. Entering his mind, Izuku could see himself in a small room in pain, screaming at the top of his lungs. That's when they emerged, his bone claws. They pierced his skin, causing blood to run down his arms. "Yes, the quirk has been successfully implanted," said a voice over the intercom. "Hurts, doesn't it? And thanks to your healing powers, every time you use them, you'll rip through the skin, and the pain will just start all over again." Snapping back to reality, Izuku fell to one knee. "Where am I?" He looked around to see the bodies. "What have I done?" Izuku slowly began to retract his claws. That's when Momo and Jiro walked up to him. "Are you yourself now?" asked Momo. Izuku looked up at Momo. "I don't know what came over me. When I saw the blood, it was as if something just snapped inside me. Who am I? And how could I kill so easily?" "We'll worry about that later. Right now, we need to get moving. There's no telling if there are more villains around," said Jiro. Izuku nodded. "You're right. To get to the stairs, we need to go through the plaza. But that's where Aizawa is, so he might need some help." "I agree. Let's go see if he needs any help. If he doesn't, we'll just sneak on by," said Momo. The others agreed and walked by the bodies. USJ Plaza. Aizawa was just about finished taking care of the grunts, and now it was time to deal with the boss. "You're so cool, Eraserhead. You managed to take down all of my minions. Most impressive." Aizawa gripped his capture weapon. "Thanks, but I still need to take you in." Shigaraki began to scratch his neck. "You know, we came here to kill All Might, and that's what we intend to do. But you'll be the appetizer. Nomu, kill him." Pointing at Aizawa, Shigaraki ordered the giant monster behind him to kill Aizawa. Aizawa blinked, and before he knew it, the Nomu had already got behind him. "What?" Aizawa jumped out of the way just as the Nomu's massive arm hit the floor, breaking it. "I was sure that I erased his quirk. Is he that fast even without it?" However, Aizawa didn't have time to react when Shigaraki himself ran at him. "You're good, Eraserhead, but I know your quirk's weakness. There is a time delay when you can use it, and on top of that, your hair falls when your quirk is deactivated. Meaning right now." Aizawa threw his capture weapon at Shigaraki, but he simply caught it. With his hand outstretched, Shigaraki was about to touch Aizawa. But that's when Aizawa pulled on the capture weapon and got in close, delivering a powerful elbow to Shigaraki's stomach. "Meaning right now, you can't use your quirk, but I can." Shigaraki had actually blocked Aizawa's attack and had a hand on his elbow. Aizawa watched as his elbow began to crack and flake off. Aizawa quickly jumped back, but the damage done to his arm was already done. The top layer of skin was gone, exposing the red of muscle underneath. "This quirk, you're the one responsible for the reporters getting in." Shigaraki smiled. "Right you are, but are you sure you should be focusing on me? I'm not the final boss, you know." Towering over Aizawa was the Nomu. It then reached out and grabbed Aizawa, slamming his face into the ground. Blood began to trail off the sides of Aizawa's face as the Nomu pinned him down. The Nomu then twisted the arm that was damaged, completely shattering it. Like I said, I'm not the final boss. Allow me to introduce Nomu, the anti-symbol of peace. Genetically modified to take on All Might himself. Equal to All Might in speed, but most important strength. I believe a demonstration is in order. Gripping down on his arm, Nomu snapped Aizawa's arm, causing Aizawa to yell out in agony. You erase quirks, but that means nothing if the person is already strong. Slowly lifting his face, Aizawa glared at Shigaraki and activated his quirk, only to have the Nomu break his other arm. Oh well, maybe if I kill some kids, then All Might show up. Then why not start with me? Asked a voice from behind them. Turning around, Shigaraki saw Izuku walking towards them. Midoriya, what are you doing? Asked Momo from behind a rock. We should have stayed hidden. I'm going to get some revenge. They hurt Mr. Aizawa, said Izuku with a snick. How did you get away from my minions? They should have taken care of you, said Shigaraki, surprised to see a student. Oh, you mean those lightweights? I took care of them. They won't be coming back ever, said Izuku, raising his claws. Shigaraki's eyes widened. Oh? Then I'm guessing you're strong. But unfortunately for you, there's always someone stronger. Appearing in front of Izuku, the Nomu stabbed its razor-sharp claws into his stomach, piercing him. Midoriya, Jiro and Momo yelled out as they saw blood running down the monster's claws. With the claws coming out his back, Izuku spit out blood. Pulling its claws free, Izuku hit the floor motionless. Huh, not so tough now, are we? That's when a purple mist appeared beside Shigaraki. Hirojiri, did you kill 13 yet? 13 is now no longer able to move, and I successfully managed to disperse most of the kids. However, some did stay, and one actually managed to escape, and is most likely alerting the teachers, explained Kurojiri. Shigaraki was furious. You let one get away. If you weren't our way out, I would have killed you by now. Oh well, looks like it's game over now. This mission is a failure, so let's leave All Might some dead students, shall we? Just then a familiar voice was heard. I don't think so, bub. Turning around, Shigaraki saw Izuku standing up. Why you? How are you alive? Brandishing his claws, Izuku smiled. Wouldn't you like to know? Shigaraki looked at Izuku, and where the Nomu stabbed into him, only to see that it looked like nothing had happened. I am possible. That's when the doctor saw who it was. Why you? You're the weapon. Izuku was confused. Weapon? What are you talking about? That's right, you don't remember. We wiped most of your memories. I was the one who created you, and now I'm going to be the one to take you out. The doctor reached into his coat and pulled out the revolver loaded with the adamantium-tipped bullets. Izuku's eyes widened. So you're the one who made me, huh? All right, then I have some questions for you. The main one being is, what did you do to me? With his rage behind him, Izuku ran at the doctor. The doctor raised the gun and was about to pull the trigger when the Nomu punched Izuku away. What are you doing? I had a clear shot. You won't do a damn thing, doctor. We'll let Noma handle him, said Shigaraki. You can't. If he manages to kill it, then we are all dead, yelled out the doctor. Suddenly, the doctor felt 4 fingers touch his neck. You will be silent, unless you want to be a pile of ashes. Izuku was sent towards the lake. Sliding to a stop, he looked up to see the Nomu running at him. Out of my way. Jumping at the Nomu, Izuku plunged his claws deep into the Nomu's chest. Taking it to the ground, Izuku laid atop of it. However, much to Izuku's surprise, the Nomu grabbed his arms and began to lift him up. Pulling Izuku up meant pulling the claws free. Izuku watched as the puncture marks on the Nu's chest healed rapidly. Looks like I'm not the only one that heals. Let's see how good your healing is. Managing to lift his legs, Izuku placed them on the Nomu and began to pull. However, try as he might, the Nomu wasn't letting go. Let go, god damn it. That's when a small pellet landed beside the Nomu and exploded, causing the monster to let go. Izuku landed on his feet as the Nomu stumbled for a bit, before looking towards where the explosion came from. The Nomu looked towards the mountain range to see Momo creating bombs and Jiro tossing them. It roared and began to walk towards the 2 girls. However, before it could get even close, Izuku jumped towards it and stabbed into its back. "You're not going anywhere." Izuku then began to rapidly dig into its back, causing blood to run down its back. The Noma screeched out, and it tried to reach out behind to grab Izuku, but couldn't. Then it got smart. The Nomu began to run backwards towards the rocks. It then smashed into them back first, causing Izuku to take the front of the damage. However, Izuku wouldn't let go. Instead, he dug his claws deeper into the back of the Nomu. That's when Shigaraki got an idea. "Nomu, drown him." Following his command, the Nomu ran towards the lake in the USJ and jumped in. This caused Izuku's claws to slip out of the monster's back. Now able to strike him, the Nomu turned around and punched Izuku across the face. Deeper into the lake, Izuku fell. Regaining his bearings, Izuku gritted his teeth and slashed across the Nomu's face, causing it to bleed. However, just like Izuku, it healed rapidly and then hit Izuku in the stomach, causing him to swallow some water. The Nomu then slammed Izuku on the back before finishing it off with a powerful uppercut that sent a pillar of water straight out of the lake, as well as Izuku. Izuku hit the ground hard. Getting to his knees, he spit up the water he swallowed. Man, he's strong. But that's when Izuku heard something, the click of a gun. Thinking fast, Izuku jumped back, and right where he stood, the adamantium hollow point bullet splattered across the ground. Izuku looked up to see the doctor. "You're a shit shot, but now I know where you are. So it's time you answer some of my questions." The doctor flinched as the reflection of Izuku's claws shined across his face. As Izuku was walking towards the doctor, he pulled the hammer back on the gun and stumbled to point the gun at Izuku. However, just as Izuku was about to jump at the doctor, the Noma shot out of the water and landed on Izuku's chest. Izuku tried to raise his claws, but the Nomu began to savagely beat down on him. With every punch, the ground beneath Izuku broke. With every punch, the area around them began to shake. After a few more punches, Izuku laid in a crater, bleeding from his nose and mouth. The Nomu got up and roared towards the sky. That's when Shigaraki, Hirojiri, and the doctor walked towards Izuku. Seems like he was all talk. "Did his powers grow weaker?" "No, let's make sure he's dead," said the doctor, pointing the gun at Izuku's head. "Why? He's dead. No kid could have ever survived the beating he just took from Nomu," said Shigaraki. "No, we have to be sure. If he gets up again, then he'll kill us all." The doctor was about to pull the trigger when all of a sudden Izuku opened his eyes. The doctor flinched, and in that second Izuku got to one knee and stabbed into the thigh of the doctor. Spinning around, he managed to slash Shigaraki across his leg as well. "Shit, he's still alive." The Nomu threw a punch, but Izuku managed to get under it and stab into its arm. With his other hand, Izuku stabbed into its chest and began to lift the Nomu. Rahhhhhhhh. With all the strength he had, Izuku tossed the Nomu several feet away. Hirojiri tried to open a portal, but just as he was, Izuku saw his weakness, a metal plating. Jumping towards him, Izuku ripped through the metal with his claws, exposing Hirojiri's true body. Seeing this, Izuku was about to stab Hirojiri when a bullet came flying past Izuku's face. Looking back, Izuku saw the doctor with the smoking gun. "You." Leaping forward, Izuku ran towards the doctor, who desperately tried to pull the hammer back on the gun. He finally pulled the hammer and fired, but the bullet completely missed Izuku. "Shit! Help me! He's going to kill me." Just as Izuku was about to stab into the doctor, a portal opened up in front of him. Izuku fell through and landed right in the grasp of the Nomu. The monster tightened his grip and began to squeeze the life out of him. Izuku yelled out in pain as his organs were being squished together. "Yes, now kill him," ordered Shigaraki. Izuku gritted his teeth and managed to stab into the hands of the Nomu, but even that didn't loosen its grip. Blood began to spill from Izuku's mouth as he struggled to breathe. "Need to think of something fast." "Die." Out of nowhere, Bakugo came in and fired an explosion right in the face of the Nomu. This caused it to drop Izuku, and catching him before he hit the floor was Kirishima. "Got him." Todoroki. Suddenly, ice separated Izuku and the Nomu. Jumping back, Izuku was put down next to Todoroki. "Midoriya, are you all right?" asked Kirishima. Izuku whipped the dried-up blood off of his lip. "Yeah, I'm good. Where's Momo and Jiro?" "They're safe. They're heading towards the entrance now with Aizawa," explained Todoroki. "Right? I owe them, so I'd hate it if they got hurt." Now what do we do about these guys? Asked Izuku. We kill them. That's what, said Bakugo, appearing beside them. Yeah, that's not happening. We need to be smart about this, said Izuku. It heals like me and is super strong, but there's something else. My claws were working against him, but it seemed my punches weren't. Great. He sounds invincible, said Kirishima. Not invincible, see that? Izuku motioned towards the top of the Noma's head. I don't know about you, but that seems like an obvious weakness. Take the brain out, and it's over. Wouldn't he just heal? Asked Todoroki. Maybe. Look, it's the best shot we got right now. So are we doing this? Asked Izuku. The others looked at each other and nodded. Guess we don't have much of a choice. All right, let's do it. But don't touch him. Izuku then pointed towards the doctor. He's mine. Shigaraki, the kid with the claws, there's something you need to know, said the doctor. Not now. We need to kill these kids first, said Shigaraki. It's about the Nomu and how they were made. I said not now, yelled out Shigaraki. You need to kill the kid with the claws, so deal with him. The doctor looked down at the revolver and noticed that there were only 4 more bullets. Got to make them count. The 4 students then all ran at the villains. The Nomu roared and also ran towards them. That's when Izuku jumped in front of it and jammed his claws into the monster's knuckles. With his free hand, Izuku raised his claws and jammed them in the back of the monster's hand, pinning him in place. Go! That's when Kirishima and Bakugo appeared above the monster. Die! Pointing his hands right at the brain, Bakugo fired off an explosion, while Kirishima dived, landing on the monster's head, and began to punch its brain repeatedly. The Nomu reeled in pain, but it wouldn't go down. Meanwhile, Todoroki was using his ice to stop the others from approaching. However, that's when Kirojiri opened a portal underneath Izuku, causing him to fall in it. Landing beside the doctor, Izuku watched as he pointed the gun right at him. Izuku's eyes widened as he heard the clicking of the hammer. The doctor fired 2 shots, but as the bullets left the chamber, a wall of ice appeared in front of Izuku. The ice completely shattered, but it managed to stop the bullets from hitting him. Looking back, Izuku nodded towards Todoroki. Thanks for that. Swinging his claws, Izuku managed to cut the doctor across the chest. The doctor fell to the floor, grabbing at his chest. It hurts. It hurts. Stop. Don't come any closer. The doctor yelled out as Izuku began to slowly make his way towards him. Izuku then kneeled down on one knee and put his fist a few inches away from the doctor's face. You want to live? Then answer my questions, starting off with, what did you do to me? The doctor began to cry. That's when he saw one metal claw appear. And no, stop. Start talking. I don't have all day, growled Izuku. Why, you were experimented on. You were a quirkless boy destined for a life filled with burden. But we changed that. No, I changed that. Now you are the ultimate weapon. That metal within you is what's left from my experiments, explained the doctor. Then the flashbacks, why torture me? Why? Asked Izuku. I needed your broken. A broken mind is easy to reshape. That's why we wiped your memories. If we could control you, then we would be unstoppable, said the doctor. Then why kill me now? That doesn't make any sense, said Izuku. The doctor flinched. Because you are here at UA. If you become a hero, then our plans for the future come crumbling down, and he won't let that happen. Who is he? Asked Izuku. That's when the doctor noticed something. What you're really asking is, who are you? You are trying to piece your life together, aren't you? Come with me, and I can help you. I can give you back your memories. Izuku narrowed his eyes. Why should I trust you? Just seconds ago you tried to kill me. Because no one else can help you. I am the only one who can get you your memories back. I can show you who you really are. The doctor got up. Come, I created you, follow me. The doctor extended out his hand. Izuku began to retract his claws. Izuku found himself reaching out for the doctor's hand, but stopped when he heard someone yell. Turning around, Izuku saw that the Nomu had a hand around Bakugo's neck. Izuku's eyes widened. Tell them to stop it. I can't, stuttered the doctor. Then tell me how to kill it for good, said Izuku. The creature has your regenerative abilities, thanks to your DNA. But it doesn't have the same capabilities as you. Its regeneration is less effective. Decapitate it, and it shouldn't be able to regenerate, explained the doctor. Take off its head, got it. Izuku turned his back on the doctor. Stay here. Once I'm done with it, I'll come for you. However, that's when the doctor saw the gun on the floor. Yeah, I could do that, or... The doctor then jumped at the gun and grabbed it. I could kill you right now. With the gun pressed against the back of his neck, Izuku stopped. I thought you wanted to help me? The doctor smiled. Help you? Please, you are nothing but a failed experiment. You think you're special? We have your DNA. We can make more of you. Why do you think I was ordered to kill you? It's cause you're a disposable tool for me to use and throw out when I damn please. I see. So those bullets, can they actually kill me? Asked Izuku. Yes, they can. They are very special and one of the few things that can kill you. The doctor then began to pull the trigger, and in that instant Izuku turned around and grabbed the gun, pushing it upward. The doctor fired, causing Izuku's eardrums to rupture. Blood poured down his ear as he regained his bearings. His vision then focused on the doctor. That's going to cost you. I think your hand will suffice. With his other claws, Izuku sliced up, cutting through the doctor's hand and the gun, causing the remaining 2 bullets to hit the floor. The doctor looked down on the floor to see his hand in pieces. He then saw the blood pouring out from his now gone hand. Fuck. Without saying a word, Izuku once again turned his back. You may have made me, but I'm not something you can just use. Back with the guys, Bakugo was in trouble. This whole time the Nomu barely moved, and when it did, it managed to grab Bakugo and kick Kirishima away. Just as the Nomu was going to snap his neck, Izuku came in and sliced its arm clean off. Bakugo hit the floor, but was now free. Izuku landed on his feet and growled at the monster. Midoriya, yelled out Kirishima. Shut up and grab Bakugo. I need to finish this while he's regenerating. Kirishima nodded and quickly went to grab Bakugo. That's when they saw the Nomu beginning to regenerate. Izuku knew that this was it. Running at the monster, Izuku managed to duck under its punch and get behind it, slashing at its Achilles tendon. The monster fell to one knee. Now closer to the ground, Izuku jumped up and was about to slash its neck when a small purple portal opened up beside his face. From the portal, a very familiar-looking hand came through it. Shigaraki had actually stuffed his hand through the portal just to reach Izuku. You're dead, kid, yelled out Shigaraki as his hand got ever closer. However, just as his hand was going to touch Izuku, a loud boom was heard coming from the USJ entrance. Do not fear any longer, students. Why? 'Cause I am here. Standing at the entrance was All Might wearing a white shirt and tie. Finally, I can move on to killing the symbol of peace, All Might himself, said Shigaraki as he pulled his hand free from the portal. Nomu, get him, ordered Shigaraki, but the Nomu did nothing. Nomu, what are you doing? He's here. Your whole reason for existing is right there in front of you. Kill him, ordered Shigaraki once again, but still nothing. Frustrated, Shigaraki turned towards the Nomu. What are you doing, you stupid? That's when he saw it. I am possible. Shigaraki watched as the Nomu's head came rolling off and stopped just a few feet from him. The body of the monster fell on the floor lifeless and with blood pouring out of it. Bakugo, Kirishima, and Todoroki were in shock. He killed it, said Kirishima in disbelief.